One. All right. So my name is Steven Rabinowitz. My draft profile has so many red flags in it. We had to go at least a front and back page to fit the whole profile in. And guys, just note if you make any bad picks or if you want to self-punish yourself and miss day three of the draft show, perfectly fine and pull a Mike Vrabel. We don't care. Just self-punish yourself and go to therapy afterwards. It's perfectly fine. With that being
Mm,
said, I got my one Diana Rossini joke out of the way tonight. This is Jay Kaplan. That is Anthony Strait. That is my partner from the official review podcast by the name of Joe Tufaro. Let's go. It's the 2026 NFL Draft Special. Pittsburgh is the 28th largest city in the United States, known for steelworking in the late 20th century when it refocused its energies on healthcare, education, and technology. It's also home to the 2026 NFL Draft. So watch us and quiet down those damn yinzas in the crowd while we talk about
Hey,
all things. Hey, listen, yinzas on the screen, us in the audio. Anyway, as we talk about all things draft tonight. Even the Yinzes can like and subscribe to our Facebook and YouTube on the Sports Lines pages. One word when looking it up. We've made it that simple. We love you, Pittsburgh. Anyway, uh, we're gonna talk about the pretty much consensus number one pick in everyone's minds, but because it's the NFL draft and they like to stall, we'll like to stall and talk about some opening thoughts on tonight's festivities. Joe, you're going to be here for a shorter amount of time with us going into this draft. What are you looking at? What are you looking for? And what is just your mindset going into it?
I'm staying for the top 10 because I think there's 10 to 12 good players in this draft. And then as some GMs have said, you could pick 20th or you could pick 80th and you're going to get the same amount of skill position. So I think we're going to see I believe we're going to see some trades, some teams coming up because again, there's a little bit light at the top. I don't think it's as deep as we thought it might have been. I think there'll be some surprises. And I think this is the first year, and Jay knows that I've been pretty good the last 4 years. Even doing Jackson last year, I only got the number wrong, but I knew that was going to happen. This is one of those years that's really tough. I think there's a lot of different ways that they can go at five,
And
and then
10
they'll be
now.
there at 10, and then maybe even move down and go 8 and 10 or 9 and 10, and kind of see who's looking at what. So I think it's going to be very interesting, and I think it's going to be very active in the first 10 to 15 picks.
Anthony.
Well, one of the biggest questions tonight, I was talking about this before we went on the air, was where Jeremiah Love going to land? Because about a month ago, a lot of people kind of had him at number five for the Giants. But when you look at the Giants overall, offense wasn't exactly their problem last year. It was definitely their defense. And you think about how many games they lost in the fourth quarter because they just couldn't get stops. You think about how light they are up in the defensive line, particularly now after the trade of that's Lawrence. And if you're the Giants, and obviously John Harbaugh, when his success at Baltimore was building that defense, and obviously having Ray Lewis be kind of one of the cornerstones and Suggs, and being able to build around that. And I would expect him to kind of do the same thing. As far as weapons for Jackson Dart, I think you could get those weapons even later on in the draft, even find a diamond in the rough. Um, as far as the Jets is concerned, the Jets need a lot of help on defense. I mean, you go a whole season without a single interception. I mean, there's a lot of problems. There were some philosophical issues as far as the head coach wanting Aaron Glenn wanting man to man, his coordinator more of a zone guy. And also, and I'll talk about this with the 16th pick. They don't have a quarterback as far as their future quarterback is concerned. They brought back Geno Smith, but he's a short term fix for basically what is a long term problem. So I'm interested to see what the local teams are going to do, but also some of the other teams outside of the locals as well. Like I'm interested to see what's going to happen in the NFC East. The Cowboys have been a bit of a chatter the last couple of days about what they're going to do if they're going to trade up. As far as helping their defense, what the Commanders are going to do when they're when they're on the clock. So it's going to be a very interesting draft once you get past that top 10 because because at that point it's just a matter of kind of guessing about when you go for best player available or team need.
Jay, your last up to talk before we talk about Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, and I'm going to lead into this by saying the thing that I'm going to be most interested to watch is, since this is a very, at least first round wise, this is a very light quarterback draft. No one is, there is no consensus that any quarterback other than Mendoza, who should hear his name called within the next 5 minutes or so, um, will get picked in the first round. And I've been on record as saying I don't think any other quarterback is worthy of a first round pick, even trading back into the back end of the first round to do so. So I'm going to be watching to see if somebody seriously overreaches to get, let's say, Ty Simpson of Alabama or Carson Beck out of Miami. At that, and I'm also going to be watching to see, because this is such a deficient's the wrong word, but it's the only one I got right now, a quarterback deficient draft, how these teams go about making their picks for the other positions and how they look to fill needs or grab best player available based on where there's other positions. I don't know if you're going to see, a draft loaded with ridiculous number of Hall of Famers, or even all pros, but there's a lot of solid depth in this draft. And granted, while some of these guys would not necessarily be first rounders, say if the draft was held last year, or even if the draft was held next year, that doesn't make it any less possible for them to be fully productive, solid, and even star level NFL players 1, 2, 3, 4 years down the road when we, go take a look when we're revisiting things.
And speaking of, and also I've been doing a lot of draft specials for our official review podcast and a bunch of other stuff. So I've done 33 and 3. So I looked and studied these draft profiles, especially the first rounders. I do find there's a lot of talent on the top of the marquee. I do think needs can be filled in a lot of different positions. They may not be the positions that are going to be cornerstones of your franchise, but wide receiver is now pretty much a breeding ground every single year in college football, regardless. And I do think with the transfer portal and all the other things that it's interesting to see how you're going to have, well, you might have some young people out there. You have someone like Hakeem Mesidor, who's going to be 25 when he becomes a rookie, something I appreciate, something others don't. But we're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to talk a lot about everything tonight. Now, even though the pick is still technically in, I'm going to start with pick number 1 because the Las Vegas Raiders, who started their 2025 season beating the eventual AFC champs on the road and ended it by beating the 2024 AFC champs at home, went 1-14 in between all of that and tanked all the way to get their future cornerstone, we're assuming, in Fernando Mendoza, quarterback Indiana. Jay, very rare for the top pick to not show up in Pittsburgh. He's not. He's at home right now, along with embedded reporters in there, like it's the war in Iraq, basically trying to get every thing with them. But Jay, is there going to be something in the air tonight in Las Vegas stars bright with Fernando?
Yeah. I mean, look, this is about as a no-brainer, Captain Obvious pick as you can make. I mean, any last shred of doubt I think anyone had went out the window the minute Geno Smith was gone. They need to start over, and it starts at the most important position. I mean, we talked about Mendoza plenty during Indiana's run to the national championship. I'm going to leave the scouting reports from Dane Brugler and Daniel Jeremiah to you guys. You guys know I dive deep in terms of film study with quarterbacks, just to see if there's more, because I don't get to see every game during the course of the season. So diving in post season, after the season's over. And the thing about Mendoza is that he's a different prospect than what the general perception of him is. Salute there. You would think that a Heisman Trophy winning national championship quarterback is a polished passer, ready to get plugged in and start an NFL offense day one. But like some other people, after watching him on film, I've kind of seen that he's a little bit more of a traits-based quarterback. Still needs a little development, but he is still very much worthy of this number 1 pick. It doesn't have what I would call an elite arm. It's not a howitzer, but maybe it's a tick below. Can make high-level throws, all areas of the field, pinpoint accurate with the ball, excellent with the deep ball. I'll get into that in a second. He understands coverages, how to attack them, throws with proper timing and footwork. All the traits that coaches from the Shanahan-McVay tree covet. And he's got the prototypical size at 6'4", 235. And Clint Kubiak is a branch off that tree, the new head coach in Las Vegas. Didn't play a lot under center in college. There are plays in which his processing could be, quicker, but you can also chalk that up to the fact that he had to learn an entirely new offensive system and play style after he transferred in from Cal for his final season. According to his quarterback coach at Indiana, he picked the offense up pretty quickly, but they did ask him to do more than he did at Cal. Indiana's offense is a heavy run game with RPOs, options on early downs. But, Mendoza would be in second and third and long situations in which he was asked to do more from a, football IQ perspective as far as taking a deeper drop back, reading coverages, eliminating options pre-snap. It's obvious when you listen to him talk in interviews that he understands coverages at a high level and loves the mental side of the game. But one of the most intriguing things of him, and it showed up in the playoffs, is what I found interesting is there's a coach who faced him and was anonymous just so he could speak, without any issues. He said Mendoza always made the right decision with the ball. So 1 high coverage, immediately went back shoulder. 2 high coverage with safeties wide, checked into a run play that could be successful against cover 2. So a pre-snap pressure, changed the play to something else. The thing we talked about is that he can make all the throws. Fade with different trajectories, low trajectories with zip, throwing with touch, back shoulder as well as anybody I've seen in recent memory. And he's good against pressure. He's good against coverage. Outbreakers, deep, intermediate, it doesn't matter. He can get away from the rush. And with his size, he's difficult to bring down, but I don't know if he's going to be he's not the most overly athletic quarterback, so I don't see a lot of motion in his future. He does have a tendency sometimes to hold the ball too long. Despite the fact that there are open receivers in front of him, and I'll get to that in a second, and he would hesitate and take the sack. So the negative play rate is a bit of a red flag, and that's something that's not easy to improve on at the NFL level. We'll see how much he gets there. He's really solid in third and long. We know that they were the number 1 offense in converting it third down and third and long. The only thing that's close to an NFL defense that he went against was what Ohio State ran out there. He had the highest, most efficient game against them anybody all season. Look, here's the thing. And this is something that I saw. Indiana's offense is a lot of pick and stick, which means he finds the one-on-one matchup and he sticks to throw in there. So the question is he wasn't asked to do a lot of full field reads. So is he going to be able to do that? His processing kind of needs to improve on that. Can he go 1, 2, 3, 4 or find his hot route, take what the defense gives him, even if it's the underneath route on a multiple route concept? Not something he had to do a lot, but sometimes he had issues there. He wanted to get the big play instead of just taking what was there. We know that NFL quarterbacks don't get a lot of options to convert first read, opportunities. So how he adapts to that's going to be the thing. The thing for him is he doesn't have to start right away. They brought in Kirk Cousins. He can sit behind him, learn Kubiak's offense, which is different from what he had at Indiana. He'll learn how to play offense. He'll learn how to play quarterback. The big thing for Mendoza, they have got to improve that offensive line or else he's going to be the next David Carr. So that's what I'm looking to see for the Raiders to do the rest of the draft.
What's interesting enough is that you think that he's not going to start day 1. I know it's your dream to get a quarterback that's actually
he doesn't have to,
but he doesn't have to. But I do think at least with Cousins' limited time left, injury history and stuff like that, I think Cousins is here to be a mentor. Plus, the man's getting paid $18 million. I mean, what are we doing over here?
If Mendoza is starting before week 8, Rabbi, Kirk Cousins got hurt.
I might want to put a $1 or $2 on that because again, I feel like the media perception and your perception, I think the modern perception and your perception of what a starting quarterback should do to at least get into there. Mendoza's
I'm old school. I'm not going to deny it.
I know you are. I think Mendoza will start at least half of the games this year coming up. One thing I was really impressed with, guys, is really the national title game against Miami. I think sealed the deal for me. I think you see a lot of quarterbacks struggle in big games, in big situations. The fact that he made that 4th down run is exactly what needed to be done in that position for them to win. And he has good acceleration. All right. Pick number 2 is in, and the Jets did go with an edge player, but they went with the other edge player, and that's David Bailey, edge from Texas Tech. They picked Zach Wilson in this spot the last time they had the number 2 pick. How'd that work out really well for them on offense? But here we go. This is I'm going to start on this one, guys. I think this is a good pick. I think when you went between Reese and Bailey, this is an edge-heavy draft, but at the top with especially Bailey and Reese, you couldn't really go wrong with exactly who would be pick number 2 for the Jets. And I think here the man from Texas Tech, one other one I will talk about later on as well. I just think it's a no-brainer. He's going to be a versatile NFL starter, and I think the ceiling on him, the floor on him is much higher than what Reese's floor is going to be. He was only a 1-year starter at Texas Tech, but again, he's a 4th-year senior. He was a field-side edge rusher, and he was at Stanford, but he was a part-time player, but he was a unanimous All-American last year, led the team to the college football playoff, had 14 and a half sacks, his number 1 in the FBS in pressure rate. He is just a sprinter. He has got a motor on him. First time we use motor. We're going to use it many more times tonight.
Yes,
outside of many things. He's not finesse. And I think for a Jets defense that really needs to just muck it up as much as they possibly can, this is perfect. He is explosive. And from what I've seen of him, at least during Big 12 play, didn't look that great when he came to the playoff. But I think Texas Tech this Texas Tech defense took advantage of a lot of good matchups out there. And again, you can't go wrong with this pick. I think picking the edge player is exactly what they needed to do. Joe, we haven't heard from you yet. You and I have talked about how the Jets draft history is sorted, and it's hard to muck up pick number 2, especially when pick number 1 is pretty much gone for you. So you've had pretty much the entire offseason to figure out which one is better with them, and they decided to choose Bailey.
Yeah, again, it's probably a toss-up between either one, whether it was Reese or Bailey. I know there's a lot of chatter out there about, visits and all that kind of stuff. If the Jets even interviewed these guys, whatever, trying to throw people off of who they're going to pick. I don't know who they were going to throw off when they're picking second.
Right?
That was kind of a waste of time because it really doesn't matter. But I didn't think it mattered whether they took Reese or Bailey. I think it's a good pick for them. Again, they need a lot. They definitely need some edge presence there. So good pick. Again, I think when you pick this high, it's almost picked for you, right? You have this choice. You had these choice of all these great athletes at the top, and it was pretty much came down to whether it was going to be Reese or Bailey. Again, they didn't do anything stupid, so that's a plus for them. And let's see what
you
happens.
don't have to reinvent the wheel, Joe, when you pick it number 2. And Anthony, there's a lot of holes that we've talked about that the Jets have. And most of them, I mean, you could say their offenses, they don't have the quarterback, but that's not coming with that pick. So here we go, getting a very, very good linebacker to really edge rusher to really set your team up for the future.
Yeah, I mean, when we talked about the pick between Bailey and Reese, I think Bailey obviously being the guy that's kind of more NFL ready right now. Reese has a high ceiling, but still maybe has a little season to do. But you look at with the Jets again, they're getting a guy who can help them right away, and they need the help. You think about the 31st in points allowed, 25th in total yards allowed, the lack of quarterback pressure, giving up 139.5 rushing yards per game. And I think we all joked about the lack of turnovers. They only have 14, and now one of them was an interception. That's been kind of the joke all off season. But as far as getting Bailey, you mentioned 14 and a half sacks this past season. Playing in all 14 games, high motor. Look at some of the strengths, possesses real short area twitch. He's a power guy. I mean, there's no agility to him. He's a power guy, bull rush, speed up front. He's somebody that I can see as far as outside linebacker that can get into the backfield, disrupt a lot of things in the ground game, even be able to rush the quarterback every so often, something the Jets desperately need. So I definitely think this is I mean, you could go wrong with either of these outside edge rushers, but the Jets getting Bailey is definitely a good pick.
Jay, do you think Reese was the better pick?
Yeah, I do. And look, I agree with you guys. At the end of the day, there's really no wrong answer here. My leaning towards Arvell Reese is probably because I've seen more of him, and also because I'm a fan of chess pieces, guys you can use in multiple roles on your unit, whether it's on whichever side of the ball you're on. And I think about the way Daniel Jeremiah at NFL.com described him is that fluid, explosive athlete. Yeah, they both are. Ohio State used Reese as a chess piece, a line off the ball at linebacker, on the edge as a rusher, occasionally deployed as a quarterback spy. He will eventually probably wind up being an edge rusher. He has elite speed. He has elite bend. He's probably not. You'd like him to be a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. He's not a prototypical edge rusher, but he can get past offensive tackles with his speed. He can get past tight ends and running backs with his power. He's going to need to. He would need to, expand his toolbox. But the fact that he can cover tight ends and running backs in coverage, he's really good against the run, ability to set the edge, elite speed to chase from the backside. The equivalent Jeremiah made was Jalen Walker. Like I said, I prefer chess pieces, guys who can be used in multiple roles, giving you more options and what you can do in your defensive scheme. But I agree with you guys. There's no true wrong answer here.
There is a wrong answer at 3.
And we're going to talk about it right now. Jeremiah Love for the Cardinals, the running back from Notre Dame. The Arizona Cardinals, who got rid of a 5'10" quarterback and a ton of Call of Duty merch in the offseason, gets Kyler Murray gone. Jeremiah Love, running back from Notre Dame, moves in. Now, this is tough for me because I have defended Jeremiah Love going at 4 to Tennessee with all of my being, as Joe has said on the draft. I think if you have the team that you need, or if you have any possibility, you have one of the best athletes in this draft, by far the best offensive player in this draft outside of Mendoza. And honestly, I think his ceiling might be higher than Mendoza to being an all-pro. I think Jeremiah Love is a very good pick. This is an upgrade from James Conner and the other group of running backs with the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals would have loved to trade out of this pick. I think you're going to say that a lot for a lot of teams tonight. Like Tennessee might want to trade out themselves at the 4. But overall, I probably would have gone Reese. But you know what? Love is probably the best running back prospect that we've had in this draft in a long time. I love. He was the featured weapon in offensive coordinators Mike Denbrock's scheme. The Irish averaged 40 points a game in 2025, and it was really his playoff run in 2024 that got everybody talking, pretty much going right in the beginning of the playoff against Indiana for 90 yards. I think overall, though, I think Jeremiah Love is great after the tackle. I think Jeremiah Love is great as a safety blanket for anybody who is going to be able to want to focus on the wide receivers. You have a very good wide receiving and tight end core, and Arizona, who is, I think, likely the Ty Simpson destination. A lot of people think that they will be the team that Jay will think will stupidly trade back up into the first round later tonight. But I truly think Arizona does have something going here. I think they know offensively this is the way to go for them. And overall, I really just love the way he plays in all aspects of the game. Being a pass catcher, yards after contact. Overall, the difference between the top running back in this draft and the next best running back in this draft, who, by the way, is his backup from Notre Dame and Price. I think this is a very good pick. I would have loved it more for the Titans at number 4 than I would have the Cardinals at number 3. But having the edge rusher wasn't the issue. If they were going to go with this position, offensive tackle, probably would have been where they're going to go. And if they're going to go offensive tackle or running back, I know you need to have the offensive tackle to break the holes for the running back. But you know what? You need the toys in the kitchen in order to make a sale. And right now, Jeremiah Love is the best toy and weapon you could possibly have in this draft. Anthony, I know you wanted to talk about Love, so I'm going to throw it to you.
Yeah, look, I was interested to see where Love was going to fall, but Arizona kind of took me by surprise considering uh the quarterback situation and the fact that the offensive line is not that good. I mean, you gave up over 50 sacks last season. Look, I get it. He's a home run weapon. He's a Swiss Army knife, over 2,400 yards in the last 2 seasons to go with 37 touchdowns. I mean, he's a home run guy. Obviously, you think of him, you think of the last running back taking this high, I would say Saquon Barkley. And this is definitely a best player that was available pick.
Yeah.
But I would have gone with I would have gone offensive tackle, considering if I'm the Cardinals and just what I need to build from inside out. Um,
Oh,
Francis
tough.
Manoa.
Manoa was a
I-
good pick in that spot. I'm sorry to cut you off on this one. Manoa was a good pick in that spot. I do think, though, there is enough offensive tackle talent in this draft, even if you have to go back up to
Yeah.
it, and that they would have to trade down to get the full value for it. And Jay, I know you are kind of itching a little bit at the bit here. Interesting. It's just an interesting dichotomy in terms of teams with the running back. There was a lot of negative
Yeah.
press on Love beforehand. Then he was kind of getting more into the top five. In the last few days, he got enough momentum to go top three.
Yeah, I mean, look, flat out, in terms of the offensive side of the ball, he's the best player. He's the best offensive player in the draft, hands down. If you just in terms of that 3 foot window. You're not, Rabbi, you're not the only one. Both Dane Brugler at The Athletic and Lance Zierlein at NFL.com, their most recent mocks, where the picks were kept, both of them had Love going to the Cardinals. Anthony, I don't disagree with you in terms of maybe they should have gone offensive line. But Rabbi, like you said, there's plenty of depth at the offensive line spot, whether it's tackle, guard, whatever you want to do. And since they don't know where their quarterback's going to be, we all know that one of the best security blankets for a quarterback who may be new to a team, even if he's a veteran quarterback, is a guy who can do what Love can do. And Love can do everything a running back is supposed to do. We know he can. We know he's a home run threat with his speed. We know he can operate inside the tackles. We know he's a solid receiver coming out of the backfield. But I think the thing that is underrated about him and doesn't get talked about enough is his ability in pass protection. You want to be able to be a 3-down running back in the NFL, you have to be able to hold your own in pass pro, especially in this day and age, the way offenses are constructed. The only way that this pick is worth it here is because without a doubt, Jeremiah Love's going to be a full, complete 3-down back in the NFL.
Okay, I want to get to the fourth pick because this is a huge shocker to me. Anthony, the top pick last year, the Tennessee Titans took Cam Ward, quarterback from Miami, who became the Titans franchise player. You're not going to get a second shot at the quarterback right now, but at number 4, another pick that could have easily been traded out with, they picked Cardell Tate, wide receiver, Ohio State. I think the chances for me were about 1 in 100 that Tate would go over Styles and Reese in this draft, and Ohio State would get offense picked first before defense. Anthony, for me, I know I was saying about how Love needed a running back is a good quarterback's best friend. This is a shocker.
Yeah, Reese is still on the board. You got Sonny Styles, who a lot of people thought the Titans may go with, considering Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded head coach, but a receiver this high up.
He got overruled in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of receiver this high up in the draft. In a draft that is pretty good depth as far as wide receiver. I think he could have filled that lead later on in the draft. But Connor being taken this high up is a bit of a surprise. And I'd like to hear your guys' opinion. I mean, I had him going defense at number 4. Know what you guys think.
Joe, I want to talk to you. I know you've joked about it. And you joked about the Cardinals and the Titans here. They're kind of getting looked at like, here's a shiny toy, come get it. And I think this is what we're kind of getting over here.
Yeah, and again, go back to Love. The only reason people talk about these values is because these salaries are now set in stone as to where you get picked, right? So that's why it's like you don't want to take a safety too high because you're paying them a lot of money because you're picking them at 4 or 5. Taking a running back at the 3 spot, he's getting paid a lot of money just coming out of the gate as his rookie contract. And where are you going to go with that in 4 years? So I think again, he was the number one athlete in the draft, and I don't mind them taking Love. Tate's a surprise. With all the other guys that are out there, even on the offensive side, in the wide receiver position, there are other guys, but to have all the guys on defense that are sitting there, and again, somebody must have walked into Saleh and said, "Hey, you're our new head coach, but guess what? We're going to get some offense for Brian Daboll because we think we need to get our quarterback somebody to throw to." Just a shock that, I mean, you saw my reaction when it came up.
Mine too.
And do I see a trade? Do I see the Giants traded with Kansas City?
Well, we'll take a look at that in a second. Let's. Go ahead, shit.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, look, I get in a certain from a certain point of view, I get the pick. Cam Ward needs weapons, and hands down. And Rabbi, you and I may disagree on this, and I think we do. To me, Carnell Tate is the best, most complete, most ready to start from day one receiver coming into the NFL. So I understand wanting to give Cam Ward that type of a weapon, considering he had very little to work with last year. He needs playmakers. You're investing in this guy. You're projecting him to be your quarterback one for the next decade. He needs guys to throw to. But considering the fact that both Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, for starters, were still on the board, and that Saleh is a defensive-minded head coach, I am a little surprised that they went offense with this pick, considering if they could have gotten a wide receiver further down. There's a lot of depth at that position, but I'm not totally surprised with Cam Ward as the quarterback, with Brian Daboll as your OC. They're going to want weapon. They need a weapon for this kid. And Carnell Tate, if you got to go offense on that with that pick, that's the best pick. That's the best guy to go.
I think you have to look to trade down there, Jay, just because
maybe
the next 3 guys are probably not going to take him. So, you could probably have taken the same guy 3 picks later.
I don't doubt you on that, Joe. What's going to be interesting to see if it somehow comes out that after Love went off the board, who may have been Tennessee's may have been atop their draft board. The minute he was gone, I can picture a scenario where they're looking to make phone calls to trade back because Love was the guy they ultimately wanted. They got no takers, so they decided to go this route. But I got to tell you, the fact that they couldn't get rid of the pick, I am surprised they did not go defense, because both Styles and Reese are higher ranked players on a lot of people's big boards than Carnell Tate. I saw him going top 15. I did not see him going.
I had Tate going 6. Because I thought it was
top 15
for the Browns.
There's plenty of other teams that would have definitely grabbed him, who are probably going to be scrambling a little bit at this point. It might be a little high for Tate. But I have a feeling
high for Tate.
just have a feeling that they wanted to go offense with this pick once they realized they could not trade it.
But it also might show a little bit of rookiness with the new coaching staff and the new thing there, that they didn't have things lined up. I mean, you have to be prepared to say, hey, if Love goes here, I have Kansas City who just traded up to number 6.
Yes, the Browns. Yes, they traded up to number 6 with Cleveland.
You can't say, "Oh my God, my guy's gone. Let's start calling people." You got to have all that stuff set up beforehand.
And especially
if Kansas City came up to 6, you could have gone back there because they weren't going to do it. So
I think they were also, for some reason, I feel like they might have been worried a little bit about possibly a pick for like the Giants in that spot too. It's weird. I think just because of the fact that in this draft itself, this was a heavy draft for the defense. And there was a lot of people. First of all, I'm loving the fact that analytics people are going to explode out there. That
So
a
you
wide
have three
receiver and
offensive
running
guys
back
ready.
is that you have offensive guys ready to go. I personally think the more I saw of Tate, now I think the biggest thing that people are going to say is there's another Jeremiah out there that benefited from him, and that's Jeremiah Smith, who is very much likely, barring injury, going to be the number one pick in next year's draft. He is a generational wide receiver talent, and that's not really hyperbole. He
No.
is that good. But I think overall, this is just I don't think that the talent that was in that spot warranted this much of a reach, in my opinion. Like I said, I still have like Tate's a very good player. I think he's a top 10 pick, but I sure as hell wouldn't have done it in that spot. But again, I'm not a GM. I don't get paid the big bucks. I should get paid the big bucks because sometimes I have more logic than some of these idiots out there that are looking for the nice shiny toy.
Like you said, we got 3 out of 4 offensive players so far, which is
and it's shot in a draft that should not have been this offensive heavy.
Yeah, I am kind of looking forward to see who made the final decision on that pick. Was it Salah? Was he overruled by a higher up because Cam Ward, like you said, Jay, needs some offensive weapons around him? But
yeah,
keep going, keep going.
Yeah, keep going, and then I'll
I'm just like I said, it'd be interesting to see what happened, what happens as far as who made that decision for Tennessee. But I had them going defense, and look, Conante's a great player, great athletic player, but this high up is a bit of a reach.
The only thing I can say here, and it'll be interesting to see if it comes out, the owner of the Tennessee Titans is a notoriously emotional, knee-jerk reaction, rash type of owner. So I can very much see her wanting to overruling football people who probably said, get the best defensive players that's available. I can see that being
she's
the
very
case.
hands-on also, right?
She's too hands-on. She's too hands-on.
Some of the reasons why people thought that Mike Vrabel left, although now we've learned that Mike Vrabel has been getting very hands-on in many other situations.
Hey!
Okay. Moving on to the new Giants pick. They're back at the top 10, first of 2 picks. The Giants could have gone a million ways, but when you have a piece of gold that is sliding right down to you, you pick up that gold and you say thank you very much. And they got Arvell Reese, edge, the other edge that was at the top of this draft that we were talking about, with David Bailey at number 2. They get Reese at number 5. A lot of people, I was hearing some mock drafts, Joe, that were bringing Reese to the Giants just the way everything would have fallen out. Bailey going, Love going 3, and then this happening at 4. I personally think this is a very good pick for the Giants.
Oh yeah.
This is excellent. They're still in play to get the other guy that we really want. I think that, like you said, when somebody slides from 2 to 5 and you're looking at defense, I think this was an obvious pick. I don't think they could have gone anywhere else. I think everybody's pretty happy with this. I know Styles has taken up a lot of ink over the last couple of weeks. If that's still the way you say it.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
We'll allow it, Joe.
I think a lot of people have thought that was the obvious choice. I think he's also seen some weaknesses in his game that people didn't think he was ready to be a middle linebacker. He's not the prototypical middle linebacker. But I think this guy fits in perfectly to what they're going to do. And then again, there's also been a lot of talk about, is Thibodeau going to get traded? Are they going to move out a couple of different places? Are they going to do some things? So I think this pick makes a lot of sense. And again, anybody who slides from 2 to 5, you just say thank you very much, and you take them. And it's funny that so now Bailey and Reese are both in New York. They're just on 2 different teams. Very, very interesting. I think it was a great pick.
It's interesting the Jets and Giants decided, by the way, that they didn't go flashy here. They went best available in both cases, and this is who they thought was best available, Anthony.
Sure.
Hey, look, when you have 2 of the top edge rushers just basically falling to your left, you got to make that pick. I'm with you guys. This is a great pick. You think about with the Giants, what the most successful love to do is get after the quarterback. They have not been able to really do that the last few years as far as getting to the quarterback. We know about the issues just stopping the running game and how they were gashed up nonstop and trying to stop the run. Over 5 yards a carry last season, giving up to the opposing players. Aubrey Reese, he's explosive. As far as his pursue the ball carrier. We know he can get after the quarterback. Started all 14 games. Obviously, when you get the best thing about is being available. And what John Harbaugh likes to do, as far as his philosophy, as far as playing smash on tough defense, Reese fits in. He's only 20. He's like 20 years old. He's really young. Still has a very high ceiling. Can definitely develop a lot more as far as his technique and as far as how he's going to be able to go against the more bigger linemen that he's going to face up against. But this is a great pick. I mean, the Giants, you had to get this pick. You just had to take him when he falls right into your lap like this.
Here's the thing that I'm going to be interested to see, guys, is that if you look at the teams that are now in from 6 to 9, I don't necessarily know that you can automatically say they're going to go defense. Browns,
I would think so.
right. So they would tend, in my estimation, they would probably lean more towards the offensive side of the ball with their picks. So the question, I guess, becomes now, and this is a great situation to be in if you're Harbaugh and Shane, is which one of the two remaining elite Ohio State defenders will be available when they pick again at 10, because Sonny Styles is now still on the board, and you got Reese. Styles fits in nicely as a stack backer, who you can use all over the field, and Caleb Downs, who is widely considered the best safety in the draft, is also still on the board. So it's a question of whichever one of those guys is still there is who they take at 10. The interesting situation for them will be is if both of them are still available.
Very unlikely, in my opinion, but we'll see.
We'll see.
And the Chiefs did go defense, but they went with Mansour Delane.
Yeah, that's not a surprise.
LSU. Not a surprise. I guess
they need cornerback help.
But I guess they thought there was some intel because I had them picking him at 9. I guess they thought there was some intel that Washington and New Orleans would have liked him too. Probably Washington specifically.
Maybe. And that's why I said, like, even though the teams in between the Giants' 2 picks aren't likely to go defense, if they were, they're not necessarily looking at either Styles or Tate, though they could go with either one because both of those fall under the heading of potentially best player available. Styles is more likely to come off the board first, only because there is still this prevailing, old school idea in the NFL among personnel folks that you don't draft a safety this high up in the draft, even though as we are seeing more and more, safeties are being used as ridiculously important chess pieces. You look at McNeil-Warren in Seattle. You look at the guys in Cincinnati and in Baltimore, and I'm sorry the names are escaping me at the moment. Dax Hill and Hamilton. So it would not surprise me if that's why, for me, the pick the Giants should go with at 10 is Downs, but it'll be interesting to see if both of them are still on the board, which way they go.
I think this is where you got to look to see if the Cowboys move up.
I'd be shocked if they didn't, unless they're unless they're excited. I think Bain's worth a lot too. Ruben Bain from Miami, so I do think that they could be very happy just keeping 12 and going safety at 20. By the way, let's go back to Reese for a second just to kind of close the book on him. The big issues that you would have for him is he has less than 1,000 career defensive snaps.
Yeah.
So he is kind of a project, but with the one season he had as a full-time starter, even though he is slender as an edge. Yes, I'm the cold water guy. Sorry. But
no, it's okay.
I will have to say that he has just a tall, developed frame. He is explosive in all ways, shapes, or forms. And just playing under Vrabel last year at Ohio State, playing in a pro-style defense, one of the best defenses that Ohio State has ever had. You've learned that these coaches know how to coach. And it's kind of like when you go to a place like Ohio State, that's not just a place where you're going to win Big Ten championships. You're going there to prepare for the NFL. That's what people are doing there. That's why you have Styles. That's why you have Tate. That's why you have Reese. You have all of these players who's ready to go. And you looked at all of his tape last year, and I looked at every single piece of tape. Okay, no, other people did it for me. But it's hard to find a missed or overrun tackle that the guy had at all this year. This is the type of player that the Giants, that is a giant, that
Yeah.
screams giant to you. And I think this is perfect. Like you said before, with Reese, he could play a lot of positions. I think for a team like the Giants, who have a little bit of outside of where Lawrence used to play, a little bit of defensive flexibility now,
Mhm.
that's the type of team that can use Reese better. And I
Yeah,
think that's exactly what needed to happen for Reese. And I think going down to 5 also I put a little chip on his shoulder and really just showing the ball out. The Giants have a ton of top 5 talent right now on that defense.
Yeah, Rabbi, when I was going through the scouting reports, there's an AC executive who had an interesting comment. He said, quote, with regards to Reese, he can play from depth or rush, but in my opinion, you need to choose one and build from there. Considering the amount of talent the Giants already have on the edge, um, I think starting him as an off-ball linebacker, as a stack backer, and then trying to figure out how exotic you can get using him in situations where you want to have an extra rusher or, come from that edge. Like I said, I like guys who are chess pieces, and he's in a position where, as a giant, he can be used as more of a chess piece. He does not have to be pigeonholed into being an edge rusher solely because they have a lot of depth there.
All right. Well, let's hit the clock to the other side of the next segment. Chess clock, get it? And move over. We're gonna throughout this show, we're gonna take a look at 4 different position groups that have a tremendous depth in this draft. And because we're biased and because we love offense, we'll start with the pass catchers. From Big Ten powerhouses like USC and Oregon, some of the tight
How
end
weird does
position.
that sound coming out of your mouth?
Oh, that's why I wrote it. I see a bunch of guys. By the way, some of the tight end position guys. I see a bunch of guys who will be unnecessarily drafted high up in my 2026 NFL fantasy drafts. So blame this segment for all of these bad decisions that I'm going to make in this draft. And Anthony, you're the first one. Tell me a wide receiver you're looking for in the or tight end, a pass catcher in the rest of this draft. As you see, Sonny Styles, by the way, goes to Washington at 7.
Interesting. Well, I'm going to go with Denzel Boston, wide receiver in Washington.
The Boston.
Washington, yeah, 6'3", 212, junior out of from Washington Huskies. 2025, third team All Big Ten, led team with 62 receptions, 881 yards receiving. Top of ninth in the in FBS with 11 receiving touchdowns. Played in 12 games with 11 starts. Here's an overview on this scout report. 2-year starter with elite ball skills, super C athletic speed limitations. He's been compared to as more of a Puka Nacua comparison type. Strong off the line of scrimmage, can get open. Maybe not the most elite speed in the world, but one of the things that about a scouting point, he's good early acceleration. Obviously, he can get off the line of scrimmage. Runs routes good fluently. He's a big body target. Plays to his size. Leads on defenders without sacrificing catch readiness. And you said the fantasy John. He scored 20 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. So he's a big he's proven himself to be a red zone mismatch. Pro caliber ball skills with elite hand strength to finish. Extends for off-frame throws, spider web-like catch radius. So in other words, that's the guy you want to throw. You just throw it in his area and just let him go up and get it. That's the kind of wide receiver I want on my team. If I throw it to you in any facility in a zip code, if you go up to get it, I'm gonna throw the ball to you more. But one of the things is I see him while I look at some of his game film, is that he can play the outside, but also be a really explosive inside receiver too as a slot guy because of his size and because of his ability to get that first step off the line of scrimmage. So where he falls is going to be get picked. It's going to be interesting and what kind of offense he's going to be placed in as well. Um, but one of the question marks is that his production did drop a little bit when he had to play more against the more elite level defenses in college. Um, and also that his separation after his separation getting away as far as breakaway speed isn't that high. So he's not the speediest guy in the world, but he's also someone that that you could extend plays, that can extend drives, can be a very good possession receiver, can break the big play if needed. So he's somebody I see more as a slot receiver to start out, but definitely someone who could turn into a big game, a big play receiver downfield because of his size and his ability to catch the football and to be able to hold on to the football as well.
I like it in terms of here's a comp that will be easy to make because literally same college, same position. Roma Dunze is a kind of good pick. I know Dunze has more skill set over here, and I know he's been a little bit in and out. Like last year, he started out like a world of fire with Caleb Williams, and then kind of tipped off a little bit towards the end. Luther Burden really took a majority of being the number one guy there. We'll see what happens with DJ Moore now going to Buffalo. But I truly think that Boston is in the perfect position. He is, for me, he's the fifth best wide receiver in the rest of this in this draft overall. And that means you're going to a team that, as long as they haven't picked, unless they're not someone like Miami who's in the 30s, you're going to a team that you can be able to be a slot guy, be there to kind of make a big impact, make a smaller impact right away, but you can actually kind of go under the radar a little bit and kind of develop as the season goes on. I really like Boston's position. Jay, you're next, and you have a little bit of a different age because Makai Lemon of USC. By the way, Washington, USC, and Oregon in this segment, the Big Ten Holy Trinity. Interestingly enough, Lemon is just really following the same tradition of a lot of these USC wide receivers that we're now seeing in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he has a first round grade. I mean, in terms of Brugler's top 100 overall, he's ranked 13th. He's the number 2 ranked wide receiver in the beast. 79 catches, 1,156 yards, 14.6 per catch, 11 touchdowns, only 2 drops last year. I have seen this guy go from just a bit player to a 2-year starter. He's primarily an inside guy. A little over 75% of his career snaps, he was in the slot in Lincoln Riley's spread offense. Led the Trojans in receiving each of the last 2 seasons. All-America last year, won the Biletnikoff Award as college football's best wide receiver. He's the first USC player to do that since Marquise Lee in 2012. And he doesn't have a lot of like top tier physical traits that are going to jump off the page at you. But he showed multiple times in games when which his quarterback made a "my guy is better than your guy" throw, and Lemon went out and got it. He's got that thing you call competitive urgency. He does not let the ball hit the ground. I said the 2 drops, this past year, his career drop rate is 2.8%. He does not get tackled where he makes the catch. Get a lot of, to quote Brugler's scouting report, he produced hidden yards all over his college tape. He knows how to run his routes correctly. He's smooth. He catches anything thrown his way. A lot of people are making the comp to Amon-Ra St. Brown, another Trojans receiver. We've seen what he's done in the NFL. And a lot of people are saying, looking at that guy is the top end, that's the ceiling of where Makai Lemon could be. NFL starter, specifically in this slot. The thing that you got to understand with him is that I understand the knock against, grabbing a guy, let's say in the top 15, who's primarily a slot guy. But considering that most offenses are operating out of 11 personnel with 3 wide receivers, any guy who can make plays, make catches at all 3 levels, knows how to find the holes in coverage, has enough burst to, get away from guys, knows how to get out of his turns and get out of his breaks. There's that to me, that's a guy that you want to take in the first round. An AFC scouting director had the following quote. He could come in and be one of the top 10 slots in the league on day one of camp, in my opinion. Great hands and fiercely competitive. Here's something that I kind of like gleaned from watching the athletic football show. The guys who do this show are NFL focused, so they look at guys coming in from that standpoint. And here's kind of my takeaway from the way they looked at McNeil-Warren. And basically saying what Amon-Ra St. Brown and JSN have done since coming to the NFL makes it easier for teams to see what Lemon brings to the table, even if he's primarily a slot receiver. He's not going to be the first wide receiver off the board. Yes, I wrote this before Carnell Tate went at number 3 because I didn't expect anybody to be gone before, let's say, right now with Jordan Tyson going to the Saints at 8, Tyson is the number 1 receiver on a lot of people's big receiver boards. But here's the thing, though. If you already have your number 1 guy, Lemon might be the complement that you're looking for. And if a team is in that situation, he's worth the pick, even if it is top 15, based on what he's going to bring to your offense. He's a dynamic offensive weapon. He can play both inside and outside. Polished route runner, outstanding stop-start quickness and burst. He routinely turns short passes into big gains. All you have to do, and I say this every year, is look at the tape. And I've seen enough of his games, USC, starting with the Iowa game, which is the one everybody points to, and rightfully so, 10 catches, 153 yards and a touchdown, to just say, don't overthink this. This is the guy. If you are in need of a receiver, this guy is plug and play from day one, and I say that with zero lack of confidence.
I mean, USC guys have had very good luck right now in the NFL, even though someone like a Jordan Addison is still kind of learning a little bit in the system in terms of trying to get to his maximum potential. He's also stupid in a lot of situations with suspensions. But
he gets the benefit of having Justin Jefferson on the other side of him, and he's making hay with his opportunity.
Oh no, he's making hay, exactly. Like I said, they're right now, a lot of USC players have been very good in the NFL. By the way, I'm a little disappointed that we don't have an Ohio State connection of the wide receiver Tate and Olave, but I think going with the Tyson.
There were people who mocked that, who had that.
I mocked it.
I
think they mocked it too. I'm not sure. I didn't mock that, but I know. But overall, I do love these picks in terms of just like in the wide receiver spots, because there's a lot of interesting ways stuff can go. And I think I'm going to get to Tyson, remind me when we get to kind of our looking at everything at the end of the night, because a lot of people had Tyson going to the Giants, but we'll talk about that when we get to their pick at number 10, which is coming real soon. However, you're now going to get analysis from me, Stephen Rabinowitz, on the tight end from Oregon, who is by far the number 1 tight end in this board, in Kenyon Sadiq. And I think overall, he is just, you need an athlete that's going to get you going on day one. There's a reason why a lot of people have fantasy drafted him to a lot of good teams, bad teams out there. But I think overall, the guy looks like an action figure. He has low body fat, impressive muscularity in his arms and legs. Yes, I know. I don't like that word, though. It was sending over there, so I'm trying to fix it. He caught 13 passes of 20-plus yards, second most among all FBS tight ends last year. And he is just someone who is going to finish every catch that he has. And because of the big frame that he has, he's going to get hit a lot, and he's going to keep the ball a lot. He is, again, teammates have mentioned, he is the toughest player to cover in practice, comfortably adjusts on the move to snare misplaced throws. The problem is last year was his only season as a starter. He only had 40 yards per game in 2025, but that's not what Oregon does. Oregon does use Sadiq when they need to, use the tight end when they need to, but that's a standard style of offense. They're not going to use the tight end until they have to. And Sadiq could do everything for you, not just be a tight end. He is shorter than ideal for the position, but again, what he doesn't have in this, he has in this. He needs to cut down on his drops. He needs to find a way to have a different ceiling defensive ends in the NFL. He, again, as I've said before in a lot of these shows I've done with Joe over the last month, the Big Ten is very good in one area and it's very bad in another area. Like the reason why you could mention Iowa so many times is that's like the perfect middle of a Big Ten team that you're going to play. Because outside of that, you're getting the Purdue's of the world sometimes that you can basically show as a pro day in college football because of how bad they are. But you have a lot of opportunity to shine. And I think I've always said you could always look at the tape of someone in college and then see their production and know they're going to be a good player. Sadiq, it's a little bit different again because of the limited amount of catches and opportunities that he got in Oregon. But working with that offense, working with Dante Moore last year, he has a lot of potential to be a 10 touchdown guy.
Oh, yeah.
One. And I think whoever gets him in this draft is going to be in for a treat.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're not drafting this guy to be an inline, blocker. You're not expecting that much from him. He is essentially a power forward masquerading as a wide receiver. I think I agree with you, Rabbi. I think he's going to get more opportunity to show the length and breadth of his skill set in an NFL setting, depending on where he lands and who his quarterback and offensive coordinator are. This guy, if used properly, he's going to be a matchup nightmare for linebackers and defensive backs across the NFL.
All right, so we have a little bit of time. We're going to try to kill a little bit of time as Spencer Fano, offensive tackle of Utah, was picked at number 9. So, Joe, the Giants are back on the clock, and the safety, Caleb Downs, is very much there for the taking. We're going to kind of react to this live with the Giants having that pick at number 10. Did they already say the pick is it? I have a feeling it's going to be Caleb Downs, but Joe, what is your opinion on what they should be doing at this pick?
Oh, I hope it's Caleb Downs. I think this guy he's one of those enforcer types on the back end. There are guys that when you get hit, you stay hit, and this is one of those guys. And they'll be able to, as Jay said, move him down in the box. He'll be able to play strong side. He'll be able to play. He'll be able to blitz. He'll be able to do whatever you want to do. He's good in coverage. He's good. He's got good ball skills. This is the guy I wanted from when we started talking about it. But again, we were worried about 5, 10. You come out of this first top 10 with the guys that they came with, Reese and Downs. Probably the best outcome they could have had. I know guys are going to go, oh, you still need offensive linemen. There's going to be plenty of offensive linemen the rest of this draft. There's still some free agent guys who are offensive linemen. You're gonna do just fine. You come away with a guy like this, like I said, who's an enforcer, who's there are guys that you see when people take hits from, that they stay down a little bit longer. They know that they got hit, and that's what this guy is. He's a
oh,
it's not Downs, is it?
Wow, no, it is not.
Don't tell me. I'm looking right now so we can kind of.
Rabbi, I'll let you announce it, but this
is. There you go. Okay, so that was the other obvious.
Okay, so they decide. So they decide to go. By the way, with offensive tackle from Miami, Francis Malaloa. They went to the draft very quickly. They went to the board really quickly on this. By the way, funny thing about Downs. There hasn't been and still hasn't been a safety picked in the top 10 since Jamal Adams back in 2017. But Joe, now let's redo our analysis here and talk about the first offensive tackle to go, the second offensive tackle. I'm sorry to go off the board since Fano went one spot before. I was
going to say that those were the two choices that they had at that point. I thought that they would grab Downs, but Mayuga is going to move inside. He's going to play guard. So they're going to have Illuminor and him next to each other, and you got Thomas on the other side. So you're building that side up, and you're building that line for the next 5-6 years with these guys. And again, very important. I'm glad they didn't have to make the choice of going to Love. I think they have a good running game. They had a very good running game actually last year, towards the end of the season. So I think this one makes just as much sense. It was just a matter of whether they go offense or defense. And again, who knows where these guys are going to fall down to as the Cowboys jump up to take him on the next pick.
I'm assuming Downs is going here.
I can see that happening.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think if you're going to go offense, this is what you needed to do. I'm glad that they went tackle, guard. I'm glad they didn't go running back or, I had a problem with Tyson just because of his injuries. And
Same.
Being worried about it.
We'll talk about that later on.
Yeah. And, that was a little scary because maybe Neighbors isn't going to be healthy right away. And, do you really want the camera panning to the two guys standing on the sideline going, oh, this was the plan. And yet here we are back with, Darius Slayton playing wide receiver 1. So I think this is a very good pick as well.
But by the way, just a heads up. Well, I don't know what the compensation Detroit's getting for Miami. I know the compensation Cleveland got from Kansas City was 2 third-round picks in order to move back 3 spots. I'm going to imagine it's going to be too high for Miami to go back from 11 to 12, but we'll see. Jay, you were itching to get in the bid on here on Malaloa going. There's going to be a lot of Miami players we're going to see in this next part of the draft getting drafted, and rightfully so.
Here's the thing, and I agree with Joe. If they were going to go offensive line, this is the pick. I also believe that he's definitely going to slide inside. Does he profile as a right tackle? Could he play that position in the NFL? Absolutely, hands down. He is a mauler. But I think, considering they already have their tackles locked in and they're happy with those slots, this guy will easily, I think, slide inside to right guard, and that's a hell of a right side of an offensive line once he gets comfortable and gets ensconced in playing guard. That being said, I would have gone with Caleb Downs here for all the reasons Joe was talking about. Again, like I said to you guys, I like chess pieces, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Joe said, this is the guy where, when he hits you, there are 2 sounds: him hitting you, you hitting the ground and staying there. The thing that jumped out at me at Dane Brugler's scouting report from the Beast was he refers to Downs as a human missile. This guy, he doesn't exactly have overwhelming physical traits in terms of size and speed, but he is an elite tackler. He can play. He's best at going downhill, as a box safety near the line of scrimmage. But he can play in coverage. He has his skill, his ability to recognize patterns and situational awareness is above average. You can run it. You can chess piece him all over the board. The comp that people have used with him, according to one NFC scouting director, said he plays a lot like Budda Baker when he was coming out of Washington. Similar mentality, similar playing style. And this defense, we've done plenty of crapping on Matt Patricia while he was in the NFL, especially when he was at New England in that disastrous, end of Belichick's career over there. But there's no doubt the guy can still coach defense when you consider the number of elite defensive players on that defense who are going to get drafted. And Downs is just one of them. This is a guy who can play all around. I mean, Patricia moved him around Ohio State's defensive scheme, primarily lining up underneath. He's played nickel, he played strong safety, he played essentially nickel backer. The guy you can put him all over the place. He's an outstanding blitzer. He takes really good angles against the run. He takes ball carriers down. Honestly, I don't know that as much as I have no problem with the pick of an offensive lineman here, you want to give your running backs as much opportunity to get open holes. You want to do everything you can to keep Jackson Dart upright. But again, Caleb Downs to me is one of the ultimate chess pieces available in this draft. I just would have gone that way solely because of what he can do. He may not wow you in terms of splash plays. This guy is plug and play. He starts day one in your defense, and he's going to make your defense so much better and so much more dynamic and versatile in terms of the number of the ways you can use him.
Anthony, go whichever one you want, but do also note that the Giants have drafted our tribal chief tonight with an Ulafala and everything. So
I saw
one's to the sky.
Yeah, I saw. Look, Marino is definitely going to be moved inside as a guard. I think obviously when I'm thinking about that, that's going to help. The Giants had a good running game last season as it is, particularly getting Cam Scatterbull back healthy. So that right side is going to be, if you put him next to Andrew Thomas, it's going to be really good. So expect a lot of off-tackle runs to that direction because that's where he excels best of getting off the ball, running, and being able to open up holes for the running back. But I'm with Jay here. I'm going to go with Caleb Downs. So the guy, the fact that he can play man on zone coverage, and the fact that he has great play recognition, can tackle. You think about all the Giants' problems defensively and how bad that secondary was. Just as much as anything, I just thought that was somebody he could come in, he could plug and play right away, and he'd be immediate upgrade in the safety position for a Giants defensive backfield that was one of the worst in the league by far. And I gotta say, I get the pick because you want to give some protection to Jackson Dart. You want to be able to get a guy who can start as tackle or has a guard in the event of an injury, or if you want to plug him in right away. And my Noah definitely gives you that. But I definitely would have gone defense, continue to go on defense, go with Caleb Downs, get somebody who could be a playmaker in the defensive backfield as well. So I think that's the direction I would have gone if I was in the Giants war room right now.
I do think though, once you pick an offensive, if you have two picks in the top 10, I do like to kind of diversify my portfolio a little bit here. And I think there is a difference between the Fano and Malialoa combo than it is everything else. So I like the pick. And I do think the problem is, and I think it might be an Andrew Thomas issue if he gets injured again.
That's
Malialoa
fair.
has basically spent all of his career as a right tackle. He said he played guard in a lot of these pro days because he's wants to show he can play all five positions, as Downs does go off the board right now to Dallas. So he will be,
No
unfortunately,
surprise.
something that the Giants will have to see twice a year. But I
Yep.
do think I do think Malialoa is a very good pick here because again, it satisfies a need for them. And I think overall, just you have somebody who is a guy who barely gets injured. He doesn't get injured. He's been on the field all 42 games that he's played over the last 3 seasons. And I think you have somebody who is patient. You have somebody who really, I mocked him at 3 to Arizona, and I think maybe that may have been a little bit too high. But honestly, a lot of other people mocked him to 3. The 2 and 3 picks in this draft, April Crease and Francis Malialoa, are both Giants, and I thought that was the second and third picks in this draft. I think he's patient. I think he's a good controlled pass blocker out there. This isn't bad, I think, for the Giants
No.
because, again, I hate to be all nice, happy. I think everything is great, person, but I do think all of a sudden, the Giants just had with the Dexter Lawrence trade last week that got this number 10 pick, just because Cincinnati, although I think Downs would have been perfect for Cincinnati. I'm not exactly sure why they decided to just take that top 10 pick away and go for somebody who's going to be a lot more expensive over the next 3 years for them. I surely think that this is a good pick for a position that, again, you get the pick that you want in Reese at number 5, that helps you really, really put another level to your defense. And now with this pick at number 10, it's all about making sure that Jackson Dart is starting 70 games next season. And you're making sure that Jackson Dart can do what he needs to do and be Jackson Dart with minimal consequences. I think the Giants have hit home runs in this draft so far. And based on what they need and based on what was available, you get 2 of the top 10 players in the draft with your top 10 picks and possibly even better than that. I think it's a win. Now, Joe, I know you're going to go after this segment is done, so I kind of want you to just wrap up the Giants night, so to speak. People so far are liking the draft that they've had. I want to see what you think about their draft before you log off for the night.
Yeah, I thought a lot of people were scared that they would have to make the choice about Jeremiah Love. I thought a lot of people were scared they'd have to make the choice with Jordan Tyson. So I think it worked out perfectly. Again, nobody thought that Reese was going to be there at that point. So all these things that you were talking about all week long or for the last 2 weeks has been Styles and Downs or Styles and Tyson or Styles. And so the fact that Reese fell, they had no choice at that moment to take him. And then you get to go ahead and decide, are we just going to keep building defense or are we going to try to take care of our offense? And again, you have a fullback who is now in fold, who is going to help a lot in the running game. You have a Scatterboo. You still have the other 2 guys as running backs. Build up that offensive line. Again, you still have some free agency guys out there. They're going to sign DJ Reader probably Monday morning after the draft is over, so they don't have to worry about compensatory picks. And again, you can't do a draft and worry about how other teams are doing. Like you go, oh, Dallas wound up getting Caleb Downs. you can't do that. You have to take the guys off the board that are there. And the fact that Reese fell to them probably changed their whole board. I'm
Yeah.
sure after the second pick, they were all looking at each other going, are you kidding me? He's still going to be up there, because he had to be on the top of their board. When you just put athletes up there, it was probably him and Love at the top of their board. And it just made it simpler for them at that point. And again, you had no choice but to take him. And now I like the idea of getting an offensive lineman. I think it keeps the fans happy that they didn't do anything a little bit crazy, that they decided to go get a little protection. And again, that's an important piece. And now we'll see how they go from here.
All right, Joe, you are released into the wild, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the California sun. And thank you for joining us tonight. Joe Tufaro, thank you so much. I will see you on Monday for the final April edition of the Official Review Podcast. Be sure to watch all of our social media. Be sure to listen to Joe and watch Joe when he's back on with us again in the fall. Thank you, Mr. Tufaro.
Good to see you, sir.
Always good to see you.
Have a good night. Have a good rest of the night, guys.
All right, let's see where I am in this big board over here. Segment 6. So the Giants got to make more picks. 2 of the top 10 is definitely not enough. The Giants will have one day 2 pick. That's round 2, pick 37, and 5 on day 3. Take out your calculators, gentlemen. Round 4, pick 105. Round 5, pick 145, and a clump of 3 picks in round 3 from 186 to 193. Guess what? I'm not going to tell you which. Round 6, I'm sorry. From 186 to 193. Guess what? I'm not going to tell you which 3 they are. I'm going to be surprised. Let's give the Giants some new players and predict the rest of their draft. Anthony, where are you going?
Let's see. What was it? Where are we at right now?
We are at what the Giants will do for the rest of their draft.
Okay, give me just a second, because I'm like all over the place right now.
Jay, you want to go first?
Yeah, Jay, you start first.
All right. Here's the thing. It's not necessarily like what you consider what, people who have been, doing these mock drafts and putting these big boards together consider one of their primary or top needs. But my pick for them, and to me, it's who I would go with either in the in round 4 at pick 105. And that's Katron Allen, running back out of Penn State, 5'11", 216. He's the number 5 ranked running back on Brugler's The Beast. 210 carries, 1,303 yards last season at Penn State. 6.2 average yards per carry, 15 touchdowns on the ground, 18 catches, 68 yards. That's just 3.8 yards a catch, but he wasn't, a big part of their passing game. He was a 4-year starter, though he was a part of a running back by committee situation, along with Singleton, who also will keep your eyes on him. He's going to come off people's boards at some point later in the draft. But he slowly but surely kind of took over the RB1 slot last year. He's averaged better than 5 yards a carry in each season. Rushing yards increased year over year. First player in Penn State history to eclipse 4,000 career yards. He's number 3 in school history with 39 touchdowns on the ground and 43 overall. He's a big, strong runner, difficult to get down onto the ground. He's the type of guy who gets stronger as the game goes on. Led all of D1, 8.2 yards per carry in the 4th quarter. Doesn't that really have what you call home run speed to run away from pursuit, but he makes good reads, sets up his blockers well to create more opportunity for big runs than expected. He's not an athletic freak, but to me, this is a guy you plug in as potentially he's a guy you can slot somewhere in between Scadaboo and whoever is your lightning to Scadaboo's thunder. He's the guy who's in the middle. And I think he's going to be exactly what the Giants need in that spot. He projects to be a durable backup low end starter. What I like about him is that he slides into that role, and it's a role that not a lot of teams seem to pay a lot of attention to. He can fit just about any run scheme, which not a lot of running backs can. He's not going to give you a lot of third down or special teams value, but this is a guy who, if either one of your guys goes down, you can slot him in for X number of snaps and not feel like you're going to lose a lot of drop off. I like the fact that I like guys who are patient runners who set up their blocks, wait for things to develop before making their cuts. He gets through the holes. Like I said, not a lot of burst. Change of direction is average, but he was a very productive player who knows how to fill a role. So, and when you're looking at a fourth round pick, this is the place where you go with it. So hopefully, the other good thing I like about him is that he's solid in pass protection, which is also something you kind of need. So I think he makes a good fit. In this slot. He can play on, alongside either of the two Giants running backs. That's where I'm going with it. I think it's a solid pick at in the fourth round.
Anthony, you ready to go?
Yeah, I would go. I mean, this is kind of late in the draft, obviously, second, possibly third rounder. But I would go with adding some depth to the defensive line. I would go with Lee Hunt out of Texas Tech. Um, Third team Associated Press All-American, first team All Big 12. Started all 14 games, 41 tackles, 11 tackles for losses with 2.5 sacks and a forced fumble. Two gap nose tackle for odds or even front. Has the strength, size, and length to do battle in the heart of the trenches. Requires better take on techniques to set firmer in his grass. Won't win in the gas, but he can stack and shed single blocks and slide and stabilize his run fit against zone blocking. But look at a guy like Hunter. Look at somebody who can be a rotational guy, kind of come in, play maybe 15, 20 snaps. But at least to start out with, but give the Giants a little bit, some kind of depth, some kind of rotation that can help out, at least as far as, again, I mentioned earlier in this draft, stopping the running game. And also, when you look, is the big guy, broad chest, 6'9" wingspan, fires off the snaps with low pass leverage, slide to lateral blocks, can make a stand on the move. Basically, he's a guy that can literally fill up holes in the line of scrimmage. Dominate. I mean, you don't put too much stock in the Senior Bowl, but as a bull rusher, he stood out very well. That's something that Dexter Lawrence was that was his specialties, was kind of a bull rusher, a guy who could get into the backfield and be just as disruptive, whether it was bringing up an RPO or getting to the quarterback, because he just basically collapses the pocket in front of the quarterback. But some of the things he needs to work on now is he's relied too much on his size, especially when he's being double teamed. Lacks the feeling of efficiency taking on down blocks. And he's pretty much limited right now to early downs, two gapping schemes. So I see him as someone who the Giants can pick up later on in the draft as more of a need, but also a rotational guy to kind of help kind of shore up that defensive front four, or front three, obviously in this system. But he's a guy that could come in, could definitely fit into the Giants defense as far as what they want to do, especially now that they have the abundance of pass rushers on the edge, where you throw in Burns and Thibodeau as well. But they added some depth as far as the middle, get some beef up there. I know Rabbi, we joke about wrestling all the time. Big meaty man slapping meat.
Love
So
it.
we gotta get some big bodies in there to kind of plug up some of these rushing holes. I mean, that's been the Giants' biggest problem, is giving up so many yards per carry on the run. If they could decrease that by a couple of yards, it makes such a big difference as far as defensive play calling, when you want to send in pass rushers, when you want to just unleash the beast. But Hunter being somebody that can be a rotational guy who could definitely kind of kind of
Whoa!
kind of
Sorry,
fit in.
guys.
No, that's good. Um,
Okay, so
okay.
before we get to that, whoa, and we have a segment for this at the end of the
Wow,
show, and I feel like I know what this is going to be, considering they just took a picture of
wow,
him. Oh boy. Okay, so let me get to my piece
wow.
before, and I might actually just go into this after this, but let me talk about what I wanted to talk about in this NFL draft. I'm selfish. I am a person who wants my needs, and you know what? Sonny Styles has gone for linebackers, straight linebackers, inside linebackers. I want myself to see the Giants go in the second round and get Jacob Rodriguez. of Texas Tech. This is a want pick for me because I know it might be a little bit of a reach taking him in the right beginning of the second round, pick 37, but you know what? Screw it. He played in Virginia in 2021, played 12 games as a reserve quarterback. He was a quarterback. He had wide receiver and running back stats in 2021. And then he redshirted in 2023, but in the 2024 first team All Big 12 Conference, 77 solo tackles, 127 tackles. And then in 2025, he blew up with all of his awards. First team Associated Press All-American, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, Bronco Nagurski Award for Top Defender of the Nation, Top Lineman of the Nation, Lombardi Award, Ben Derrick Award, Top Defender, Butkus Award, Top Linebacker. He got Heisman votes for the love of God. He had 7 forced fumbles, 128 tackles, 14 games. He is an athlete of the greatest extent, and it would be another amazing pick in a Giants team that is going to be full of athletes. His strengths combines the high tackle totals with plus on-ball production. Posted 13 career forced fumbles. He's quickly and races to the junction point. He is a beast out there. He has the best mustache possibly in the game once he comes into the NFL. Let's go. Weaknesses, though, there are some. Can be knocked around inside the box by size. Will occasionally false step in the diagnose stage. Had some coverage bust in some plays and will be misdirected a bunch. But for what you're going to get intangible-wise out of Jacob Rodriguez, this is a pick I would love the Giants to make. Do I expect them to make it? Again, I think because of I know this is a different spot of the defense, and I think they have enough positional depth now that this is probably not going to happen at 37. But again, this is a wish list pick. This is not a reasonable pick for me. I would love to see Jacob Rodriguez as a big blue member. That's why I'm picking him. Okay. So the reason why we all went shocking is because a second quarterback already went off of the board at 13 to the Los Angeles Rams, Ty Simpson of Alabama, a pick that I don't think anybody in the world expected here. He was in the green room tonight in Pittsburgh. Some people thought he might go later in the draft in the first round, but he did not. So, Shay, I'll leave it up to you. This is a stash pick, actually, with Simpson. And I know we always talk about fit. I know we always talk about team. But now it gets a little bit different because of where he's going. And he is definitely not seeing the field year one. I can put a lot of money on that based injury. That the only thing that brings him to the field is injury.
Here's my thing with this. I went on record at the top of the show that I did not think Ty Simpson was worth a first round pick. I thought if you were in need of a quarterback, you could get him second round. Nobody had him graded earlier than a second round pick. What was interesting is when I was looking, just the scouting report on him from the Beast. Ty Simpson's a one-year starter, and Rabbi and I were talking about this over text because I was literally in the middle of doing, and this is almost like the football gods laughing at me. I was in the middle of doing my film study on Ty Simpson, doing what I called my due diligence, just in case somebody did something like this. And I said to Rabbi, if somebody does something crazy and picks him in the first round, he falls to me to do the analysis on. Rabbi was like, yeah, he's either your first round review pick, if he actually goes. So here we go. I'm jumping it. Here we go. Here's the thing that I hold against him. 1 year starter. Yes, he operated in a modern day spread offense. Bided his time behind Bryce Young, Jalen Milroe. Here's the hilarious thing. Earned his degree before throwing his first collegiate touchdown. He had 1,365 days between his final high school touchdown pass and his first in college. 30 touchdowns in 2025, led the Tide to the SEC title. First half was much better and much more consistent than his second half. It was very much a tale of two halves for Ty Simpson. Here's one stat that'll kind of like illustrate that. 20 big time throws, 5 turnover worthy plays in the first half of the season, 10 big time throws, 12 turnover worthy plays in the second half of the season. Here's the thing with him. I went through the I'm going to leave if anybody wants to chime in with the other scouting reports. That's fine. The comp that Brugler made, Daniel Jones with fewer physical traits, mid-level starter at best, backup at worst. Maybe. Okay, so here's the takeaway that the Athletic Football Show had on him. Based on all of and this is my takeaway, as well, based on all of the weaknesses, both in terms of physical traits as well as quarterback traits and skill set, to my estimation, to a lot of people, he's not a first-round quarterback. He's a lot more development than not only Mendoza, but every other quarterback taken in the first round in last year's draft, or even Tyler Shuck, who went in the second round. Derek Klassen of the Athletic Football Show, he compared Simpson more to Baker Mayfield, but at the high end, that's his ceiling. The case could be made that Simpson was asked to do more at Alabama than Mendoza was asked to do at Indiana in terms of having to make full field reads. But to me, there's not enough of a skill set, games played, not to mention wow plays on his tape that scream first round pick. And then there's this. It's a stat that Klassen brought up. To me, it's the final nail in the coffin. Per Sports Info Solutions, in terms of quarterback accuracy, plus positive, negative, plus minus percentage. And yes, I know it's a niche next gen stat. Every other quarterback picked in the first round over the last 3 drafts had at least a plus 4% accuracy, plus minus, except for Anthony Richardson, which is no surprise to any of us here. But that was supposed to be mitigated by his athletic ability. So much for that. Simpson is at plus 1%. Granted, the fact that his receivers had 30 drops last year, second most among all Power 4 quarterbacks, is a big mitigating factor. But coupled with everything else, I just don't think he's a quarterback you take with the first round. Even trading into the back of the first round like the Giants did last year for Jackson Dart, he may turn out to be a serviceable backup, but you don't take a quarterback like that who still needs more than just a wee bit of development in the first round. There's a reason Brugler has a second round grade on Simpson, but to me, he was more mid to late second than early. And if he had dropped to the third round and I didn't see his name called until tomorrow, I wouldn't have been surprised. I watched I didn't watch a lot of Alabama games. I'm not a big SEC guy like Rabbi is. So this is where I do my film study in advance of the draft. And I was watching Kurt Warner dissect his film. And one of the things that I noticed, as did Kurt, Simpson was asked to push the ball downfield a lot in Bama's offense, deep outs, deep ins, hole shots. So there are NFL level throws on his tape, but there are also a lot of forced throws downfield shots, especially in the second half of the season. Now, the thing that Warner brought up is whether or not those missed throws are due to the game situation or a failing of Simpson's skill set. And I'm just paraphrasing there. He does process full field reads as well and is able to go to his backside read if his front side reads are not there, going from 1 to 2 to 3 and even 4, aka, post-snap processing, which is important at the NFL level where there are less opportunities to convert on the first read. But he has very little time under center, took most of his snaps from shotgun, so not much experience with pure back to the defense play action concepts or straight dropbacks, both of which he's going to be asked to run in the NFL, especially in the offense he's about to go to. He does a solid job of keeping his eyes downfield on boots and is able to make and adjust and reset in order to make the off-platform throw. And it's something that's happening more and more at the NFL level, and Simpson has a good feel for it, which is a positive for him. On the flip side, he struggles with ball placement in terms of consistently leading his receivers. He has a tendency to throw behind them, forcing them to reach back for the ball, which is something I saw on the tape that Warner was reviewing, as did he. Sometimes that's a footwork issue. His drops aren't in sync with the route being run. Other times it's just being late with the ball. Is there something there? Yeah, maybe. But there just isn't enough on tape to know for sure, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's who are better at this than I am. And for me, that's enough of a red flag to not take Ty Simpson in round 1, unless you're the Rams, who have the ageless Matthew Stafford at quarterback and likely have 1 to 2 more seasons of him, which allows them to try and develop Simpson. So if you look at it from that perspective, I guess the only team that is in a position to make this kind of reach in the first round is the Rams.
No,
Look,
yeah, but however, though, there is. So here's the problem with that, and we can't all talk about all of this at once, since this is a content thing. I'll let you have a quick mention of this in a second, but
mhm.
there are better quarterbacks, and I talked to you about this before, and I'll let everyone say it. There are better quarterbacks coming out next year that can easily be in this same position. I think considering there's still a lot of talent in the quarterback world, and there's still a lot of this is that it's a head scratcher for me picking here when they picked. I think again, I'm not a GM, but this is almost the opportunity where you decide you make a phone call or two, you trade back to 20 or 21, you find somebody who wants to move up, and you just get some more capital here.
Yeah.
This is a head scratcher for me. It is the right system to go to. I think Simpson's what he showed in the middle of the season last year was very, very good. The end of the season does concern me a lot, especially in the game against Indiana. And really, the moment he kind of got blitzed, he really just had no answer whatsoever. His big time throws are huge, though. And I think that's the type of quarterback that the Rams are going to want to succeed. Matthew Stafford, you don't want that much of a drop off into the next generation of what's going to be. You're obviously still going to have Puka Nakua there. I would have liked to see them get another weapon to help this season in particular, because the Rams had a lot of deficiencies towards the end of that season that you kind of saw moving into the playoffs. They almost lost to Carolina. They almost lost to Chicago. They could have easily been out in the first round, but a lot of people thought they were a Super Bowl contender, and they kind of looked overmatched in their games against Seattle. So overall, when you pick at number 13, you can pick one of two ways. You can pick the way that they did and stock for the future. But you can also pick for the way that you can get that one last piece out there. This is an interesting pick. And Anthony, before we get to the Jets pick, which we'll talk about too next, let's just kind of finish the book on Ty Simpson going to the Rams at number 13.
You know, it's crazy because we're about to talk about the Jets pick at 16. I know y'all said it was a reach, but I would have gone with Ty Simpson and
We
with the
would
Jets
love
at
to you
16.
for that, by
But
the
here's
way.
the
And
thing.
I'm sorry.
Nah, but here's the
I'm
thing too.
sorry.
But here's the thing too. This is just me because I look at the Jets situation. You have Geno Smith. He's probably like a one, maybe a 2 year window at best. You don't have a quarterback for the future, and there's really no one in that quarterback room behind Geno Smith that if an injury happened, you feel that could possibly get some good reps in, maybe learn from experience. Um, Brady Cook is the number two quarterback on the depth chart right now. I don't know what you feel. If you're a Jet fan, you feel if something goes wrong with Geno Smith in terms of his health. Smith is coming off a year where he definitely regressed considerably. He's going back to where it all started. Hopefully, if you're a Jet fan, it turns out a lot better than his first trip with the Jets. But you mentioned the second half of the season with Ty Simpson. He only completed 57% of his passes over the final 4 games. And you talked about the game against Indiana. My big question to him about Ty Simpson is because he's had so few starts. I think obviously 15. And he's had some great moments where you saw the potential there. And I thought for the Jets, and it's obviously at 16, or even if they had to trade back down into the draft, that he would be a good draft and stash pick as far as being able to develop him as a quarterback, to be able to let him sit for a year and hold a clipboard and learn the NFL full-style offense. The offense is going to at number 13. It's one of the more sophisticated offenses, which is why Matthew Stafford is such a good quarterback, because Sean McVay expects a lot out of his QB1s to be able to run that offense. So he's going to have a hell of a lot to study from day one as far as being able to pick up that offense. But I thought the Jets would have been a good fit because the expectation is he's not going to start right away. He is going to be someone who is going to be a backup, a project through this season. You have Geno Smith there, obviously to be the bridge gap, and you can kind of build from
But
there.
he's learning
That's why I
something
would
with
have
this
gone.
team instead of being in that position. He's actually learning something. What's going to be really, there's two things that are interesting to me. And I have a feeling you're going to hear these two things often. Number one, that's your backup next year. Now, if you're putting in that position, that's the bigger concern. You pick up at number 13. It's very rare, although for Jay, maybe he believes in a redshirt year for all first round picks,
I do.
considering there's not enough quarterbacks to go around, but uh he's your backup. If you there's a drop off, like I don't want to see him on the field in year one with that sophisticated of an offense with the weapons that he has. So if Stafford gets injured, that's going to be a big issue. Here's number two. There's always been people that are like, when's Stafford going to retire? Is this Stafford's last year? And I think Stafford's tired of hearing those questions. Those questions are now loud and booming, and they start in training camp. And that's unnecessary, I think, for a team with Super Bowl aspirations. And remember, Super Bowl next year is back at SoFi Stadium, the home of the Rams and the Chargers, but home of the Rams specifically. And that's an interesting, it's very interesting to me. All right, we kind of talked about it before. I don't have to talk about it at all, thank God, because I
No,
just
you don't.
went about
No.
it. The Jets at number 16, they get the first Oregon tight end selected in the first round since 1975. You remember Russ Francis, right? Jay, you got the game tape of him.
Yeah,
He's
though
not-
I
is he
recall,
not
I
in?
see, I vaguely remember him being more of a New England Patriot than anything else.
Well, here it is. So I kind of said my piece on Kenyon Sadiq being a tight end on what'll be a very interesting team. And obviously, that's the number two option after Garrett Wilson and the number three offensive weapon other than Brees Hall. So Kenyon Sadiq gets to trade his green and go to another shade of green. He is the pick at number 16. Jay, you're shaking your head already. I don't think you like this
Yeah,
pick.
I agree with going pass catcher. I disagree with going tight end when you drafted Mason Taylor last year, because honestly, I think the two have too many skill sets in common. Um, if you're looking to have options in 12 personnel with two tight ends, usually you're going one pass catcher, one inline. Neither one of these guys profiles really as an inline. So I'm not crazy about it from that standpoint. I do thought they would go pass catcher, but the guy I would have gone with is Omar Cooper, wide receiver out of Indiana, 6 feet, 199. Brugler had a late first, early second round grade on him. So coming up here in the middle of the first round, maybe a little bit higher than a lot of people may have had him. He's the fifth ranked receiver on Brugler's receiver list. 69 catches, 937 yards,
Yes.
13.6 average, 13 touchdown catches last year, only 3 drops. Um, Worked primarily out of the slot last year. 88.3% of his snaps were in that position. We've already talked about the RPO heavy offense that Indiana runs. He was the team leader in targets, catches, and receiving yards for the team last year. The only receiver in D1 who had more touchdown catches than him was his teammate Elijah Surratt. Granted, I agree with Dane on this. Cooper's going to have his doubters because of the way he was used in the Indiana offense, but to me, he checks all the boxes: play strength, coordination, competitiveness at the catch point. Knows how to increase his stride to create windows for his quarterback. Has a savvy presence, awareness of his surroundings to alter his route. Knows how to secure the ball midair, high point in the catch. And here's the big thing is that this is a guy who puts high value. If you put high value on ball skills and run after the catch ability, this is a guy who can play inside or outside. And if he's in the right scheme, and I think being opposite Garrett Wilson would be the right slot for him. I really enjoyed watching him play wide receiver last year. I know Surratt and who's the young kid who played with him, Becker, got more of
Yeah.
the highlights and the headlines. But Cooper, to quote Daniel Jeremiah from his scouting report, he fits the exact model of wideouts finding immediate success in the NFL. The big thing that stood out for me here is that this is something that NFL personnel guys and offensive coordinators have been trying to find. It's almost like a bit of a unicorn situation because it hasn't really happened of late. Um, it's hard to find a receiver, and the comp is Debo Samuel. To find a receiver who can break tackles, like Samuel was able to do after the catch. And Cooper might be the one who actually is the next guy up in that mode. Averaged 7.2 yards after the catch, forced 27 missed tackles on his 69 catches, great hands. And he'll probably develop into a reliable, he's already to me a reliable intermediate. He's going to get better as a deep threat. To me, this is the type of receiver you want to draft to put on the other side of Garrett Wilson. So I'm a little kind of surprised that they went tight end here and they
This
went
should have
receiving
this should have
tight
been
end.
this should have been Makai Lemon. Unless
Either
they
one.
didn't see
I don't
anything,
think.
unless they saw something with Lemon, he's dropped majorly in
Well,
these
here's the
rankings.
thing. I think to me, the one prevailing thing is that if you're looking for a guy who is going to be a physical receiver at the point of the catch, who can break tackles, who's a yak machine. You look at what DK Metcalf did for the Steelers last year he was a yak machine. He was a big-bodied receiver who could break tackles after the catch. Now, granted, Cooper doesn't have the same body type as Metcalf, but he has the same type of drive and skill set. So I don't know. I think either way, the Jets should have gone receiver here, not tight end. So it's a little bit of a head scratcher of a pick for me here. Ant, what's your take?
Yeah, I was sure I would have probably gone with Cooper or Lemon as a guy who could line up on the other side of Garrett Wilson. But yeah, Sadiq. I mean, you just drafted Mason Taylor last season, and they're kind of had the same skill set. I mean, normally, and like Jen, you say, if you're gonna go, if you're gonna go two tight end set, you would probably just you'll have one who's a pass catcher and one who's a blocker.
Right.
None of these guys are really known for the blocking. As far as I'm concerned, they're both pass catching tight ends. I would have gone. I mean, right idea. I might would have gone more wide receiver on this pick. I mean, obviously, I throw my Ty Simpson pick out the window for this segment. But yeah, I mean, and you mentioned it is ironic. It's NFL.com. Lancero, they actually compelled Cooper to Debo Samuel, a guy who can play through contact, who wants the physical play, who's versatile enough to be a slot receiver in a deep threat downfield, and creates a lot of separation when especially if he's being pressed off the line of scrimmage. So, and 20 touchdown catches since the start of the 2021 season. So he's a big play receiver who is very much a Swiss Army knife in the same form as Debo Samuel. So I'm kind of surprised. Like I said, the Jets going tight end when you already have a pass catcher tight end who was being promptly featured, especially on the back half of last season, despite the Jets season
It,
what it is.
it,
Um,
yeah.
I am kind of surprised too.
In doing research for this draft this year and having a series, I'm beginning to learn that I don't know a goddamn thing about anything right now because a lot of these picks have surprised me tonight
Yeah.
and have gone ways that I don't think we
Rabbi,
thought
what did
they
I
were
what,
going to
what did I
go.
text you? Yeah, but what did I text you earlier today? Outside of Mendoza, who's the only sure pick,
And I
it
didn't
was
give
kind
you
of
an
like
answer, and there's a reason for that because right
it was
now
like
we've got all
we
over
don't
the
know.
place. It's not just we don't know. It's just well, we might talk about this at the end, but I do want to continue and moving on to. Hey, look, I have a script here, and I'm going to
Mhm.
continue that script because so if you watch the rest of the NFL draft, that would be everything on Saturday and Sunday, Friday and Saturday, and God bless you if you do. You'll see about another 7 picks for the New York Jets: two in round two, two in round four, one in round five, and a pair in round seven. Again, you guess the numbers. You have to do the research on that yourself. Let's be GMs for the New York Jets, and don't worry, Anthony, your job is safe. This is all hypothetical. Pick someone for the Jets in the rest of this NFL draft.
Oh, I'm going defensive backfield, going with D'Angelo Ponds, the corner out of Indiana. Last season, second team All Associated Press All American, first team All Big Ten Conference. Led the team with 10 pass breakups, defensive MVP of both the Peach Bowl and Rose Bowl. 15 games obviously for the national champions. 61 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, one INT return for a touchdown. Productive perimeter cornerback. He's only 5'8", so he is definitely lacking size for a defensive back. Particularly if you think he's someone that's going to be guarding one of the bigger receivers on the outside. So his size and his ability to kind of be a ball hog. I see him as someone who is definitely a nickel corner, someone who can definitely play the inside receiver. His, plays his own S&I discipline, speed to stay in phase vertically, rarely loses possession once he gains it. Outstanding ball tracker, is a ball hog. Uh, Good on the run, beating off run plays, consistently finishing tackles, use impressive acceleration to block 2 punts. While at Indiana, one of Dame's obviously his weaknesses, he's only 5'8". His size is the most obvious one. So the bigger receivers, he's a mismatch right there. Which is why I'm saying he is someone who could definitely come in and be kind of a nickel back and someone who can play inside. Loses ground of the more physical receivers again. Go back to the size advantage. The lack of length. I mean, a lot of his weaknesses is obviously something that he doesn't have any control over. The fact that he's undersized, but everything else, as far as his ability to make tackles, his ability, the fact that he can't make plays on the ball. Um, Great eye discipline. And yeah, I mean, his limitations is going to make him. It's kind of the guy who covers the slot receivers, but I do think he would be a great fit for the Jets if I was giving him some kind of defensive back for a depth.
All right, I'll make Jay's world a little bit happier and go next, so he doesn't have to see another person go out of turn on this show and anywhere else on the show. I'm
It's
gonna,
it, it's
yeah,
it's fine because I'm doing a little research on Mason Taylor because I want to like tie that together before I get into my pick. So go ahead, Rabbi.
all right. So Drew Aller is going to be my pick. Quarterback would be a fourth round pick for me. Quarterback from Penn State, and Anthony kind of said it before earlier. The Giants need a backup, and I'm not 100% sure Brady Cook can do the job if Geno Smith gets injured or Geno Smith just as Geno Smith in 2025 six than it was in 2025. So Aller, who is would have been a lot higher if this were 2025 and he came out. Instead, he doesn't come out, and 2026 is really a nightmare for him. But let's just take a look back at what he had in 2023 when he was honorable mention All Big Ten Conference, had a 12.5 to 1 touchdown to interception ratio. Only Bo Nix did it better in the entire in all of college football. Yes, Bo Nix was still in college at one point. It was 25 to 2 interceptions, touchdowns to interceptions passing, and he actually had 200 yards on the ground too. And he did not throw a single interception in his first 311 career passes. Honorable mention the next year as well, got to the college football semifinal and really, really, really gained a little bit of momentum. He still didn't have, he probably was a little Ty Simpson-ish if he came out last year, but probably would have been a little bit worse than what Ty Simpson would have been. However, last year was a nightmare. He only started the first 6 games and he was okay. He had an 8 TD, 3 interceptions ratio. Only threw for 1,100 yards in those first 6 games and a completion rate of, he did finish with a completion rate of 63.2%, but he had surgery after a loss to Northwestern on a broken left ankle. He's looked a lot better since then. He has been able to kind of get back into his throwing motion, been able to kind of be a little more healthier. And he makes good throws. And I think the health, I don't think you have to be concerned with him anymore. And I think overall, he has a good frame. He has had potential in his 2024 season and in the college football playoff in 2024-25. And I think overall he has enough presence out there that I think he could be a solid backup for your team for years to come. Geno Smith's only going to be on this team for 1 year. Brady Cook has to go back to a stop and shop to start bagging again because I don't think he can go and be an NFL quarterback anytime in the near future. So I think personally for me, even though he is inconsistent at certain points, I think Drew Aller is a guy who I think I can see being a backup quarterback in the NFL And why not start his backup quarterback in year one with the Jets, and then whoever becomes the heir apparent to this Jets kingdom, uh, so to speak? I personally think that you could do worse than Aller as your backup. All right, Jay, you're up.
Yeah, Aller's an interesting project. He was one of those guys who we were talking about coming into this college football season. He was one of these guys that was supposed to actually make this a solid quarterback class. The injury definitely did derail him, but I think as we saw in the CFP game that Penn State lost the year before, he threw up a lot of red flags for NFL scouts with the way he played in that game. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can actually improve on those, eliminate those red flags. The good thing is as you said, Rabbi, thankfully he doesn't really have to start, and there's no overwhelming urgency to get him on the field if he actually winds up being the pick in that slot. Just only because we were kind of scratching our heads about the whole Mason, Sadiq thing because of Mason Taylor. I kind of went back and did a little last year research on Taylor. So here's the both NFL.com, and this is Lance Zierlein who had the scouting report, and Dane Brugler for the Athletic, kind of had similar things that this is a guy who profiles more as a pass catching tight end, not so much inline. And Zierlein's actual words here were he can handle blocking duties on the move or in space, but inline action will be a challenge for him. So that's the other thing. He didn't come into the NFL with good technique or commitment as a blocker. It was not his thing. The Athletics take on him last year was 55% of his snaps were inline, 37% in the slot, but he was more as a receiving tight end, route running, having the hand-eye coordination to make adjustments and finish in traffic. Not really a guy you would think to put in as a blocker, as in a two tight end scenario. He's the receiver in that scenario. So I wanted to just confirm what I was thinking, and I was right. And other people, that's kind of why this makes no sense in terms of picking him. As far as my guy for the Jets, one of their needs is cornerback. I mean, especially after getting rid of Sauce Gardner last year, which is one of the reasons why they have 2 first-round picks this year. The guy I kind of settled on was Avion Terrell out of Clemson, 5'11", 184. Brugler has a late first, early second round. He's the 4th-ranked cornerback on his board. 48 tackles, 4.5 for loss, 3 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, 9 passes defense. No picks, though. 2.5-year starter at Clemson, predominantly an outside cornerback who slid inside in some sub packages, depending on the scenario. We all know who his brother is, all pro cornerback. Guys, I'm blanking on the elder Terrell. Help me out here.
Just keep
Help
going.
me out
Just
here.
keep going. I'll get back to it. I'll get back to it. Just keep
You
going.
get back to it. This is what's interesting is he's easy moves, he's easy with his moves, knows how to read and react, crowds receivers up and down the field, you'd like to see him as more of a ball hawk, but he made plenty of plays, in the field over the last 2 seasons. I gave you his numbers as a senior, but over the last 2 years, basically as a starter, 21 passes defended, 8 forced fumbles. The guy's around the football. Physicality in both the run and the pass game. Bigger body receivers might give him a little bit of a struggle, but all of the tools are there. Might be a little undersized, especially if he goes to if the Jets play any type of a lot. Aaron Glenn likes to play a lot of man coverage, so I don't know if he's a complete schematic fit. So he projects as a rookie starter who can play either inside or outside. So even if he's not your starting number 2, he definitely provides some solid depth. So we'll see. There's Daniel Jeremiah at NFL.com is projecting him as a nickel at the next level.
By the way, AJ Terrell. By the way, AJ Terrell is the
Thank
name
you.
that
There
you were
you
thinking
go.
of.
So the fact that Avion has the ability to change the direction, which enables him to actually be a solid slot corner. So it'd be interesting. I think he's going to be fit better in that scenario than an outside corner, but you need depth. We all know you need a lot of depth at cornerback. In the type of offense that NFL teams are playing this year. The good thing is even as a slot guy, he sets good fit. He fits well against the run game, solid as a blitzer, which also helps. So that gives you options and makes him a little bit more of a chess piece. Um, I think he's gonna be a good fit here, and if you're gonna go second round on it, to me, it's a good place to go with him.
Yeah, I completely agree, and we'll kind of get more into a lot of these players out here. All right, I want to move on to the offensive linemen because they've all at this moment have been picked in the NFL draft. So we'll kind of get through all of the offensive linemen in this segment over here. They're all off the board. So let's talk about the ones that we had looked at. Offensive linemen, you don't get points for pancake tackles. Sorry out there. You're going to have to just deal with whoever it is. And I'm going to start with you, Anthony. Your pick was a guy in the big Ione, and a lot of people had him going number 14 to Baltimore. Ione coming out of Penn State, and he went number 14 to Baltimore. What is the Ravens getting with Ione?
Yeah, second team All Associate Press All American, first team All Big Ten. Started 11 games at guard. Prototypical guard prospect, thick body built, plays light on his feet for his size, good base. I only plays with good hat placement, good positional leverage, pass protection, does a good job of anchoring and holding the point of attack. Monster overpowered defenders and finishes blocks when run blocking. He's a good job of pulling, coming to balance, and securing blocks. I was watching some of his film earlier today, obviously before we went on the air, on NFL Network, the scouting. It showed a lot. What he excels at is basically being that pull guard and run out and open up holes in the perimeter in the run game. And that's something he's going to really excel at. He goes to the Ravens, who did not have a great guard combination last season. Um, Daniel Falale, who I think is on the Giants now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yes.
Um, and Andrew Voorhees are both gone. John Simpson and Lorne are now the replacement. Um, he's a player that's going to be able to fit in with the Ravens. He's a guy who's also going to be able to open up some holes for Lamar Jackson on those RBO those RBO plays and be able to open up holes in the ground game too. So it's a great pick for the Ravens as far as what they want to do the offensive philosophy. They want to run the ball and obviously do play action, and they got the guy that's going to definitely help to do that as far as showing up the run game, showing up the offensive line.
Another Penn State player that kind of underperformed last year due to the expectation that team had going into last year as the number 3 team in the country, but that's a thick boy out there. And at the guard position, there ain't too many other better players out there. Huge drop off. Ravens had seemingly targeted this guy for a while. This is a very good pick out there. At the Jay Monroe Freeling, who I
Yes,
thought
sir.
would go to Detroit, goes to Carolina at number 19. What are the Panthers getting with the former Georgia Bulldog?
They're getting, ironically enough, Brugler's latest mock draft had Freeling going here. He had a 6'7",
Only
315
in your
pounder.
only in your wishes, Jay.
What can I tell you? Brugler has a late first round, early second round grade on him. Number 3 ranked offensive tackle in the beast. The thing about Freeling is that what's interesting is that he was a starter for just 1.5 years. He settled in at left tackle after coming off the bench as the swing tackle. Coming in, took over starting in second half of the 2024 season, and he kind of gradually improved as that season went on and through all of last year. All SEC as a junior, allowed just 9 pressures, committed only 1 holding penalty in his 19 career starts. The thing that you like about him is he passes the eye test with his frame, his length, his movement off the ball, quick out of his stance, regardless of what the action requires. Knows how to utilize his hands and control guys coming off the edge, which you like. Knows how to mix up his pass sets, how to redirect rushers away from his quarterback. He has counters to counters. And he's improved his leverage in the run game as he's gone on. He's not a complete player yet. That's the thing. But the future looks bright for him. What I like about him is that, he's got all the tools. It's just a question of, Da Vinci said, David was underneath all of that clay and stone. He just had to chip away till he got him. It's the same with Freeling. Freeling projects as one of the better, as the all-pro left tackle, the prototypical blindside defender that you're looking for. He's just not quite there yet. So we'll see. What I like about him is that, here's the interesting thing. If he had gone back to school, he'd likely be projected as a top 10 pick next year. Worst case, he's a swing tackle as a rookie in Carolina with the potential to be a starter next season. But who knows? I mean, he could have a terrific camp and take over one of the jobs, left tackle or right tackle. It's going to be interesting to see where he is. There are a lot of, like I said, a lot of rough edges. But if he has time to, he's not under pressure to start and be Bryce Young's backside defender from day one. I think when you see, he's allowed to develop at a less pressurized pace. I have a feeling this guy, a year from now, 2 years from now, he will eventually be Bryce Young's backside protector. And Carolina will have themselves a really good one for a long time.
All right. And I have a feeling you'll be talking about some more offensive tackles later in the show, Jay, considering what we just saw. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Plus my anger that is knowing no leaps and bounds, but we'll get to that in one of our last segments. I have Caden Proctor, who went pretty high in this draft. He went number 12 to Miami, who was the benefit of the first trade that Dallas made tonight. We'll get to the second one later, but 3-year starter at Alabama. Proctor played left tackle. He is a big boy, by the way. He is a guy who ended up 358 at his pro day, but he led all Alabama players in SAPs last year and earned both All-American honors and the Jacobs blocking trophy as the top blocker of the SEC. He's an Alabama offensive lineman. Where do you think you can go wrong with him? It's not really that much. Enormous frame, outstanding overall mass and body length, has explosiveness. That doesn't make you think he's a 3 Bills type player. He finished his Alabama career making 18 consecutive starts without a holding penalty. I love it. He also carried the ball last year for 5 times for 16 yards. Ask Georgia. Did that against Georgia in under the lights. Did not like that at all, did they? Durable, started 40 games at left tackle over the past 3 seasons. You could do a lot worse than this guy right over here. He creates movement in the run game. He is someone had a couple of issues with weight, but those issues have seemed to have subsided. He got picked higher than I think people thought he was going to get picked. Problems, inconsistent leverage. He injured his shoulder prior to the 2024 season, missed the first 2 games, played hurt for the remainder of the season, underwent shoulder surgery, but again, pretty durable anyway. He was only a left tackle in college and in high school. He was a left tackle only in college and high school. Can't really move to the right tackle spot currently, and he has a below average efficiency in combination blocks. There's things that I like about Proctor, things that I don't like about Proctor, but I think overall, I hate to say it, it's simple stupid when you're dealing with an SEC player who is an offensive lineman. There's not a lot of times when I can say that's exactly what needs to be done and that's exactly what you need to do. But in this case, yeah, that's exactly what needs to be done and that's exactly what you need to do. All right, let's move to edge rusher. Ridiculously stacked in this NFL draft. 7 of them could end up still going in round number one. And chances are, when I'm saying this, a handful have already been picked off of the board. But don't worry, only one of these three picks have actually got off the board yet. So before I talk anymore and more players go into the draft, Anthony, batter up.
Yeah, I am looking at obviously round two, which will be tomorrow night, day two of the draft. TJ Parker is a edge rusher at Clemson, 6'3", 263 pounds. Posts 11 sacks, 19 and a half for losses, 6 fumbles in 2024. Powerful edge defender, NFL length. His 2025 season, a bit of a drop off compared to his 2024 campaign. But he does, but his handwork is above average both phases. Strikes early to set firm edges. Stress blockers quickly finish tackles. Some of his weaknesses, obviously, upper body strength, he's depressed, builds a wall as an edge settler, turns runs back inside. Long arms rush, devastate tackles, attacks and dislodge blockers outside hands open a corner. Keys backfield to bring his rush to quarterbacks movers. Hey, look, if you get an edge rusher who can stop the run and go after the quarterback in any combination, that's a great thing. Some of the things he has that are some of his weaknesses, is is the fact that he lacks any kind of explosiveness coming off the block run away, particularly against the run. Just widen out when blockers obviously lands the first contact. Below average pursuing speed chase from the backside. Those are some things he's gonna have to work on as far as being in the NFL, playing on the edge, particularly when you have to stop when you're gonna have to be called out a lot to stop the run, and also run support. But he's a guy that I see as someone as more of a guy who can be a backup, maybe compete for a start position coming out of training camp. I don't think he is a starter right away, but definitely someone who can definitely help a defense as far as the edge rush and the rotation. And obviously this is a draft that has been very, very rich in edge rushers. But he's definitely a guy that I would keep my eye on as far as day two is concerned.
And speaking of edge rushers, did you say edge rushers? Speaking of Miami, did you say Miami? This next segment is for you. Let's start with the guy who went number 15 to Tampa Bay, and it was a drop for some strange reason. I think it's a steal for them, Ruben Bain Jr.
Yeah, I kind of got to agree. Bain 6'2", 263. Brugler has a first round grade in him. He's the number 3 edge in the beast. 54 tackles last year, 15 and a half tackles for losses, 9.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 passes defense, even had an interception. Bain is a 3-year starter, lined up as what they call the field side defensive end, 3 and 4 point stance in Miami's 4-man front. After combining, I mean, this is a guy who actually managed to stay home. He played high school football in Miami. Jason Taylor was his D-line coach, interestingly enough, at University of. So who no better guy to learn from if you're going to be an edge rusher or a D-line guy in general. All-American as a junior. Made his presence felt more so during the college football playoffs, led all of D1 in pressures with 83, most by any player in a single season since 2017. Also led D1 in pass rush snaps, 557, 106 more than the number 2 person on that list. Number 41 in FBS and pressures per snap, though. He has an interesting body type, and the thing that's going to get that a lot of guys held it against him is the short arms, comparatively speaking, and an average get off. It's not like he has lightning quick speed out of his burst. He's not and this is Brugler's quote here, not the picture perfect embodiment of what NFL teams covet in a pass rusher. But here's the thing. He consistently deconstructs blocks with power. He's a tough player to slow down. As a pass rusher, the guy has hammers in his hands, and he knocks blockers off balance. He has a really great rip bull rush move, regularly forces quarterbacks off their spots. Even if he doesn't get the sack himself, he flushes production to his teammates. Hakeem Mesidor can thank whatever contract he gets in the NFL for that. Plays low, squatty is a term being used in the run game. But he plays with the type of violence and awareness to shut down the edges on the run that you like. Um, a lot of teams will kind of hold what they believe to be speed and size constraints against him. But this guy has such a power profile. He knows how to utilize his leverage. He is tenacious. And that play style shows in all areas of his game. This guy is a backfield disruptor. And basically, since he can play all over the line, he can line up wide, over the tackle, or inside as a three technique. And again, like I told you guys at the top, I like guys who have some versatility and aren't pigeonholed into one type of slot. Something that I kind of took away from the other research I did. This is a guy who finds a way to be a factor in both the run and the passing game, and he showed that in the CFP. The versatility that I talked about to play any all spots along the D line is going to be attractive to any defense. As I said, he's not pigeonholed into being just a true pass rushing edge. He can be a true 3-down lineman. May not have the same ceiling as, say, a guy like Arvell Reese. And yes, his measurables aren't prototypical for some teams, and some will be hesitant due to his lack of testing at the combine and all that. But the floor on this guy is pretty damn good, to a large extent due to the impact he can make as a run defender as well as a guy who can rush the passer. To me, this is a solid first round pick. 15, I think some people projected he might go higher, but again, he always had such a wide variance of where he was going to land, because again, it's a question of whether or not teams that were entertaining edge picks and looking and had him on their draft board, are they guys who, like Darren Moogie at the Jets, who are strictly, go by the measurables? There are certain historical and, physical traits and norms that if you don't check those boxes, they're not going to draft you. Going to Tampa Bay, I think, is a great spot for Bain. We all know the type of defense that Todd Bowles loves to run in Tampa Bay. I think he's playing for a defensive-minded head coach like that is great for Bain. I think Bowles is the type of coach who will be able to utilize him in the various ways. Again, this is a chess piece type of guy. The versatility that he will give his defensive coordinator makes this a really good pick for Tampa Bay. I think it's a great fit.
Can I when I go for first of all, it's funny how I said let's keep talking before someone gets picked. And ironically enough, during our segment, someone of my pick of this segment did get picked. It's my pick at number 22. He went to the Chargers. And and Jay, yes, I will thank Ruben Bain Jr. for my advice for Hakeem Mesidor, who
There you
goes
go.
number 22 to the Chargers. 25 years old. Yes, the guy played during the COVID season in college football. That, to me, shows a lot of experience. 6th-year senior, 30-year starter at Miami. He's lined up as a base defensive end before. He played at West Virginia during the COVID season. That's why he had all of that ability. And then he battled foot injuries, so he had a redshirt year in there. He got a 6th season. He had to play defensive tackle out of necessity in 2024. And then his 6th season, he had a career year. He's only one of 2 players in 2025 in the FBS who had 17 and a half tackles for loss, 12 and a half sacks, and 4 forced fumbles. He had a very good college football playoff as well. He is a guy who is a brawny build, who is a lot of off the ball quickness. He is violent with his hands. He is able to sniff out screens, showed better processing in his last year. And he has on his college resume, and I know it's a long one, it's 52 and a half career tackles for loss and 35 and a half sacks. Somebody who plays like he is his hair on fire. Yeah, I want him on my team. I don't care if he's 25 years old. I think Mesidor is a very good pick, especially going to a team that will use him in the right direction. He's going to a Jim Harbaugh team. That's a good sign for any team with defense, although I know Jesse Minter has moved on over to Baltimore as their coach. But I do think overall this is a excellent pick for the Chargers, an excellent pick for Mesidor. I think a lot of these players, especially in the edge game, we might still see Kendrick Falk of Auburn coming off the board here. Also, one name that we won't mention, but I do think overall Mesidor definitely deserves to be in the running with Bain. I think Bain has more of an upside and obviously younger helps out a lot. But overall, I think the production that Mesidor has had in his career, you might not get a 10 to 15-year career out of him, but for a team like the Chargers, they just want people who can hit now and be able to get themselves at least a playoff win or two next year. Remember, SoFi Stadium is also technically their home as well. That they're playing Super Bowl 61 in this upcoming year. Mesidor going in number 22 to the Chargers, I think, is a very good pick. And I think overall, I think the edge rushers are probably the biggest strength in this entire draft to begin with. And I think overall,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't go wrong with any of those top five.
No.
All right, we move on because we have to. We have a few more segments left. And let's talk about the last line of defense to getting into the end zone, and that's literally the defensive backs. You can only have one more thing in there, and that's the quarterbacks and safeties here. Anthony, as a former defensive back, were you a former defensive back? I don't remember offhand. Is anybody here a former defensive back? I just want to make sure before we
I
pick
was a
anyone.
running back, so
Okay, you're a running back. Okay, so you may
yeah.
not have as much of an astute ability as everyone else would who was a former defensive back, but I
I
would
will
assume through
say
your
I will say this though. I do have family that was more experienced
yeah,
in the
fair
defensive
enough.
backfield than I am.
Fair enough. All right, who you
Um,
got? Who you got in this segment? Yeah.
I'm going with Chris Johnson, the defensive back from San Diego State, 6 feet even, 193 pounds. 2025 second team Associated Press All American, Mountain West Cold Defensive Player of the Year, host team All Mountain West Conference, time for ninth in time for ninth in Division One football, 1.17 passes defense per game. Time for the team lead with 4 interceptions, 2 return for touchdowns, started 11 games, 49 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 9 pass breakups, and a forced fumble. Uh, his draft projection is late first round, early second, only missed second round. Scheme versatile, cornerback prospect, average size, ability to play inside or outside. Johnson consistent in marrying that wheelies from his pedal and rarely labels when transition with route break. Many college, while this is the overview, while many college corners leans on last officiating to grab him all, Johnson stays disciplined. He trusts footwork and technique to remain tight into the route. One is some of the strengths he does is obviously he's a disciplined. He is very disciplined, clean footwork, closes distances very quickly on those vertical routes. Trusts his feet as far as pass coverage. Really declares he really gets beat on double moves. So he's definitely a really good defensive back. One of the few weaknesses he does have is that he's because he's not a big guy. So as far as him tackling some of the bigger running backs in the NFL, and there's plenty of them, that might be a bit of an issue. So he's gonna have to learn how to find a way to take these guys down somehow, some way without getting dragged an extra 2, 3, maybe 5 yards downfield. But when you look at it overall, as far as his skill set, I think he'd be a possible steal in game on in round two, maybe even late round one. We go to a team that needs some defensive backfield help. He's a guy who could possibly start right away because he is a really good defensive back who is very disciplined, who is a ball hog, but knows how to place the receivers without drawing penalties, without making unnecessary
Yeah.
contact. That is a very big plus, especially in the National Football League, where it's not like college where passing interference could be a variety of as far as the yardage. That's a spot foul in the NFL. So if you get a defensive back who can play the ball downfield, get to be able to stop the run or run support, that's a big steal. I think he's going to be a real steal for whoever picks him, whether it's tonight or tomorrow night.
All right, we move on to safety and numbers, our nice little segment over here. That number is two.
I can't interrupt you, but am I the only one who picked the defensive back, or did y'all?
You're the
Did
only
one of
one that
y'all
picked
pick
the defensive back. No,
I mean,
we
picked
both.
a corner.
You
That's what I
yeah,
meant to ask.
yeah, because I think these two safeties are definitely two that we thought would still might go in the first round, but they haven't gone yet. So it actually helps for the second to last segment of the show having that happen. So Jay, let's talk about Dylan Thiedemann, another Oregon Duck who we might see go off the board even in the next few picks.
Yeah, yeah, and Anthony, to be fair, we kind of need somebody to take a cornerback solely because Rabbi and I, we've both like been very impressed. Came into this draft season very impressed with the depth and talent at the safety spot. It's been I can't remember the last draft, Rabbi, where we've had this type of. I don't want to
You
know.
rarely have three. You rarely have three first round safeties, let alone you should have easily. Dowd should have been a top 10 pick. So
Right,
him going
exactly.
to the Cowboys at 12 is almost a steal for anybody.
Right. So, I mean,
I mean, actually, that's all.
there are definitely a lot of solid cornerbacks. I talked about Avion Terrell. Mansour Delane went off early. If there's one cornerback who I'm waiting to see because I don't think I don't think he's off the board yet. Is Chris Johnson from San Diego State? A lot of people are really high on him.
Literally, he just talked about it 5 minutes ago.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
So
literally his pick.
there you go. Which is so, like I said, we there just seems to be more talent to talk about at the safety position, and the Oregon Duck I'm going with is Dylan Thiedemann, 6', 201. Brugler has a first, early second on him. He's ranked. He's the 18th player in Brugler's top 100. He's the number 2 ranked safety behind Downs. 96 tackles last year, 3.5 for loss, 1 sack, 7 passes defensed, 2 picks. He was just a 1-year starter at Oregon, but he was a 2-year starter at his previous stop at Purdue, where he was primarily a post safety before he moved west to Eugene for his junior season. Became a 2025 All-American for the Ducks. Both of his interceptions actually clinched victories late in a game, one against Penn State, one against arch rival Washington. He collected more than 300 combined tackles in 3 college seasons. He averaged almost 8 tackles a year. He was a hybrid safety in the Oregon defensive scheme. Deep middle, Robert, nickel. Basically, they moved him all over the place. Again, this is another chess piece type of safety. Great open field athleticism. His versatility in being able to make plays over the top in coverage or downhill versus the run. Great range, great anticipation from the deep half of the field. Intelligence to understand what's developing in front of him and make a play off of that. Doesn't always play up to his testing numbers, but here's the thing, guys. Are we drafting testing numbers or are we drafting football players? Dylan Thiedemann is a football player. Watch the film. He can guard both sidelines. He can play coverage. He can recognize routes. He does have to clean up some things in his run game, but he does have a nose for the ball. And this is another guy who, like Downs, he has no problem laying a hit on you. He reminded Brugler, the comp Brugler used was Justin Reed because of his scheme-friendly recognition skills and eagerness to get busy as a run defender. I'm quoting Brugler here. Dane projects him as a durable NFL starter, versatility that should appeal to a lot of defensive structures. Again, I like guys who can line up all over the field, especially with the safety slot coming. The thing that sticks out for me with him, and he just went to Chicago right now, Bears taking him at 25, which is kind of where you normally expect a first round safety to go. This is a guy who has a good feel for play design. I like the fact that you can play him all over the field, in coverage, near the box. And that's the thing that I like about a safety. And this is kind of how safety is kind of morphing into the position. You got teams that that are less looking for free safety versus strong safety, post safety versus box safety. And you're looking for guys who can be used all over the field in a variety of roles. Big nickel is a term you're going to start to hear more and more as to describe safeties in the NFL. A lot. So you're gonna, based on what we've seen and guys we talked about when we were talking about Caleb Downs. We'll talk. I mentioned him for a minute. Nick McNeil-Warren for the Super Bowl champion Seahawks. the big nickel, undersized linebacker that allows your defense to stay in base more often. That's kind of where that I see the safety position heading in the NFL over the next few years. Philip Thieneman fits that role, and they're going to love him in Chicago. To me, this is a great pick and a great fit. And a great fit.
And you just mentioned the fact that they just signed Kobe Bryant, C-O-B-Y,
There you
Bryant,
go.
in the offseason. So you got a great mix of safety out there. They didn't think Thiedemann would fall to 25. So they had this is one of those things about adjusting your board if you're one of the teams on the bottom, because there's a lot of players that have fallen a little farther than expected and easy to pick up in this spot. And I think this is a very good pick. And that's an even worse team to have to throw against this year. By the way, Buffalo
Oh
traded
yeah.
to Houston. Let's see what happens with them. But let's talk about Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Very likely could be a third safety to go in this first round. Could be picked in. Could be picked right
Rabbi,
in the
the
20s.
more I read and read about this guy, the more I like him, man.
And I like him too, also for another reason. He, in the age of the transfer portal, he never left Toledo. He had a lot of options to stay. He never left Toledo, and he is just a guy who had so many opportunities. A 4-year senior. He has worked very, very much with a lot of good players out there. He worked with he did a very good job developing under former head coach at Toledo, Jason Candle. He now is the UConn football head coach. He is impressive on the back end, and he is going to be an NFL. He's going to have a lot of starting reps as an NFL rookie. Stuff that you can see is long-legged, rangy, has adequate back-end speed. He has very good hands and ball skills. He is a peanut punch type guy. He has 9 career forced fumbles, and that's something you rarely see about a safety. And you want to have that Charles Tillman peanut punch guy on on your team. Wish he would go to Chicago. Didn't. He'll go somewhere else, but the peanut punch will live on. Called for 1 penalty in college altogether. He had over 1,860 career defensive snaps. And again, people we mentioned before, NFL scouts said it's very having a good loyalty out there, not leaving Toledo to go to a bigger school, which he easily could have. He is not shy about dropping his shoulder. He is a guy who will hit. He is a guy who will avoid blockers. He is fast. He is big. I love to see this player play. He hasn't had too many injury issues, but that could be a weakness. He did miss 5 games of his junior season because of a shoulder injury. He's over aggressive, so he has to course correct sometimes. You got to worry about that. And he needs to worry about a lot of simple tackling mechanics. But Jay, as you mentioned before, Thiedemann going 25, that's normally where you see a safety go, even if it's the first overall safety. It's very rare in a year that we have 3 safeties of first round talent, even first to early second round talent. But all 3 of these guys are plug and play day 1 options in the NFL. Love this pick. If
Rabbi,
whoever wins.
Rabbi, I would say this. When I saw the script and I saw that you had McNeil-Warren, I got jealous. I'm not gonna lie. I am jealous. This dude, one word that stuck out to me is nasty. This guy can
Yes.
play. He can get he can get in the trenches. He can get dirty. He is what you would call a John Madden kind of guy. Someone who is physical, does not mind mixing it up. He can be a bit of a ball hawk too, but he is not shy of contact. That is somebody you want on your team. He's a day 1 starter. He is going to be a starter wherever he goes in training camp or opening day. I love this kid. Yeah, the loyalty of staying at Toledo is obviously a big thing that sticks out in a positive way. But man, I watched some of the film on him. Oh boy, I mean, all 3 of these players are really good. And some as far as improving defensive backfield. But McNeil-Warren is definitely going to be a home run wherever he goes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good back for defensive backs in this draft, especially at that safety position. All right. This is our last segment of the night. We wanted to kind of get to other things that we've noticed in this first round of the NFL draft. I gotta say, for the first year of actually doing really in-depth research and doing a series of picks, it's really interesting to see how everything went completely different than what I expected it to be, and I love it. That's what makes drafts and just this whole thing fun. So this is not the way you would go in terms of surprising, but Jay's going to talk about the Steelers pick. And a guy who was also somebody on the offensive line who was very much linked to them for a lot of the last week. Max Ihonachor of Arizona State going at number 21. Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. Right tackle out of Arizona State. The interesting thing about him is that he's pretty raw. Um, he came to LA from Nigeria when he's 13 years old, didn't play a lick of football in high school, started playing in junior college. Um, he still has to develop. I mean, he's in terms of where he's ranked on the draft board. In terms of offensive linemen, hang on, let me pull up the beast here. He is, where are we? He is Brugler's number 7 offensive tackle. The grade on him is,
It's second, if I'm not mistaken.
you are correct. Late first, early second. So
Okay, so
kind of
about
where he
exactly where it was
falls.
supposed to be.
Right. So kind of where he falls is exactly where Brugler kind of expected him to fall. Um, eh, he's still learning how to play football. So there's a lack of consistency there. He shows some flash. There's not a lot of substance yet. Um, so he's still learning how to, kind of refine his talent and actually play, the intricacies of the position. Um, Solid athletic build, balance, quickness, solid play strength. So you have a really good foundation for a future starter at right tackle. Though he's probably going to, the hope for the Steelers is that he can take a quote unquote redshirt year and and the coaching staff can develop him. The only thing that I'm worried about, is the fact that the reason behind this pick has a lot to do with the uncertainty surrounding Broderick Jones as he recovers from spinal surgery in his neck this offseason. That's why offensive tackle is atop the Steelers draft board. That coupled with them getting Michael Pittman to be wide receiver 2. I was hoping that the pick would be the guy that both Brugler and Jeremiah had mocked to the Steelers at 21, and that was Blake Miller from Clemson. But with both him and Freeling being off the board, pronounce this guy's name for me again, Rabbi. Max's
Ihonachor.
name. Yeah, him being available, he was the next best option. The thing is, and this is the NFL.com profile on him from Lance Zierlein. He has good length, excellent lean mass. His hands and his footwork need refinement, but his range and play strength should translate to any run scheme. Work to do with his pass protection technique. He had a really strong performance against Texas Tech, the likes of David Bailey and those guys last year, and at the Senior Bowl. And that kind of suggests that he might be more game ready than some people think, but again, still raw. The thing is, like on a year that's kind of light on high end tackles, his measurables, his athleticism, and his upside basically have pushed him into this spot. Like I said, there's a lot to like there, but there's a lot still left to do. I can't really argue the pick based on the need and who else was available. I was kind of flipping through the tackle board and in terms of who's still available, and I don't know.
Lomo.
Say
Lomo would have
again?
been my pick. Caleb Lomo was the one who was me thinking would have
Yeah,
been better, but I don't know if it fits for the Steelers.
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, he was ranked one spot higher than Max. It's just a question of fit. Whether or not that's a good fit for the Steelers or not. The hope is that there is enough time and there's no urgency to rush him onto the field. Um, but it'll be interesting to see based on where Roderick Jones is not necessarily come minicamp. I don't expect to see him at minicamp.
No.
Where he is he at OTAs later in June? Or, is he even healthy by the time training camp rolls around this summer? And I think that will dictate how much they need to potentially ramp up um, Max's development cycle. I like this guy as a down the road uh, piece for them, potentially as a swing tackle as they kind of move to the next stage of their offensive lines construction. Though I hope that he does not have to get major snaps at either tackle this year. If he does, that means either Broderick Jones is not healthy or something else bad happened.
By the way, I want to shout out that we almost had another pick while we talked, as Chris Johnson, who Anthony just talked about a few minutes ago, went to Miami, who actually traded up to the pick at number 27. All right, Anthony,
Ooh,
kind
Nice
of,
is gonna like that one, guys.
Oh yeah.
kind of your final thoughts for the night. Give me another thing that you liked or didn't like about round one of the NFL draft. That's is about 5 picks away from officially finishing
Oh,
up.
I hate to give the devil his due, but I'm kind of impressed with the Dallas Cowboys tonight. I hate to give them any kind of credit for obvious reasons to the Cowboys, but I mean, you get your playmaking safety with Caleb Downs, and he falls to you at number 11. But also the pass rusher you had your eye on, and Malachi Lawrence, you traded down and you were still able to get the guy you had that you had your eyes on. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys had the number 2 offense in the NFL, but they had the number 30th defense in the NFL, and then you wonder why
There
they
he
missed the
goes.
playoffs.
He does.
But yeah, they missed the playoffs. But I mean, this is a smart draft, and I know we haven't said that an awful lot in recent years with the Cowboys, particularly because we have criticized Jerry Jones, the GM, kind of overrated everything else. But this is a smart draft. I mean, they have a new defensive coordinator. Um, they are lacking. They were completely lacking in a pass rushing department. They just needed to redo that entire defense, and this is a good start. I mean, they got the young pass rusher who was with a lot of speed off the edge. They get the one that obviously the top safety in the draft. This is a really good night for Dallas.
Okay. So I want to talk about two wide receivers and their fits, and then I have a mini rant that's really annoying me right now to finish this off. So I
You want to let me
really
chime in first before you go on your rant? We always like having your rants end the show anyway.
let me do I chime in for let me do chime in first, and then I'll go back over.
There are a couple of things that stood out to me. I'm always interested when teams like trade up and who they use to take when they trade up. Do they fill a need or do they trade up in a panic? So I like Mansour Delane to the Chiefs, traded up to get him. What's interesting, I do think Miami had a nice draft with Proctor, solid offensive tackle from Alabama, and uh, getting Chris Johnson at cornerback. That's a solid draft so far. Um, I agree with Anthony that the Cowboys had a decent draft. One of the interesting, intriguing picks for me, Makai Lemon rather went
I knew you
20,
would say that. All right, there goes my
went
rant.
20. Is that your rant?
Yeah, that's fine. Go
Okay,
ahead with the
yeah,
Kyle
all right,
Lemon.
then I'll tell
No,
you
go
what.
ahead.
No, 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 no,
Go with
no,
Lemon.
because I have
No,
a
okay,
feeling I
go
know
with
where you're
Lemon.
going with
Oh,
it.
you should know where I'm going. Talk about Lemon to the Eagles, and then I'll go back over.
And Rabbi, hopefully all I'm doing is setting you up here. I like this pick, because I think the Eagles need some diversity at wide receiver. But what intrigues me
No. Yeah.
is this pick the first step towards a
Not where I'm
change
going,
in
by the
the
way.
pecking order in the receiver room at
Not where I'm
Lincoln
going.
Financial
Not
Field?
not where I'm going with that. So I'll get to back at it in a second. Yeah, I think everybody knows about the AJ Brown trade. I think everybody knows about the AJ Brown trade that's possible to New England in June is what people saying because that's when salary cap stuff will happen. I think that's been on everyone's mind. I think Lemon is a very good first step for that to happen and kind of making the order Devontae Smith and Malachi Lemon, who
Makai
really
Levitt, yeah.
fell. Makai Lemon, I'm sorry, who fell really down in this draft, which I think is a very good pick for the Eagles at number 20. Back to
Mhm.
that in a second. Let me kind of go over the two other wide receivers first, who also got picked in this draft that interests me. Jordan Tyson going number 8 does interest me a lot because of the hype he'd been getting over the last few weeks because of everything that he's been doing. I know the injury history has been doing it. There were people thinking he would fall to the Giants at 10. There were people thinking that the Giants could easily, if everything broke right, use the pick at 5 for him, which I thought would have been too high, and thank God that didn't happen. I love Tyson as a prospect. I certainly love Tyson playing alongside Olave. And I think one thing the Saints needed to do was get the Tyler Shuck era. He had a very good year, rookie of the year last year, and I think they needed to get a lot of good things going for him. And I think this is a very good pick for the Saints at number 8. The next thing, Casey Concepcion going to number
Mhm.
24 at Cleveland. I think Concepcion is kind of a weapon that a team other than Cleveland would need because Cleveland has so many other issues. It's a good toy to have out there. I don't I don't like it per se in terms of fit, but I love the player. I actually have seen him more and more. He won one of the Do Everything awards last year. He essentially was the Swiss Army knife of college football last year at Texas A&M. So it's pretty simple for him going as a first round pick, pretty easily to put all of the pieces together with that. My issue here is you mentioned Philly trading up at number 20. Who did they trade up with to get that pick of Makai Levitt at number 20? They traded with Dallas. And they traded with Dallas. This is the same situation that happened.
Mm.
Remember when Micah Parsons somehow fell to the Cowboys at number 12 and Devontae Smith was the number 10 pick? That was also the version of a trade between Dallas and Philadelphia. And listen, also this also happened earlier tonight too. Buffalo and New England just traded positions for New England to go up and get the offensive tackle Lomo. What are we doing trading a division here? I mean, what happened to all of these great rivalries? This is the
Yeah,
first round of the NFL draft where you're still going to have the most talent in the first round. I don't care if you're gonna have to not get that fourth round pick that you would get later down the line. You should overcharge the hell out of your division rival to even move up one spot in the
agreed.
draft. And we had this twice in the AFC East and NFC East, for God's sakes. And I know the Cowboys and Eagles love trading with each other in the first round of the NFL draft. Listen, as a Giants fan, and I was angry when I saw this. I'm a Knicks fan. We're down 2-1 in our series tonight to Atlanta. Whatever. The Mets have won 2 in a row. The Yankees swept Boston. But what the fuck? Are you serious here? Come on. Trading in division should be illegal. Jets and Giants are never going to trade with each other unless they have to. Why are we trading in division? I remember a few years ago when Buffalo and Kansas City traded with each other, and it turned out that they got some pieces. Rivals should not trade with each other. Less Dallas trading with Philadelphia in the draft, and more Dallas trading with Miami in the draft. No one's offended. No one cares. They're not on the same level. Nobody cares about Miami. People care about Dallas. More trades between random teams, and let's stop trading in division. End of rant.
You know what? I gotta say, I didn't think that's where you were going, but it is an interesting thing.
Thanks.
I mean, rivalries. So all the talk about rivalries during the season, um, why would you do anything to assist said divisional rival in the
Giving up a
biggest
fucking wide
NFL event other
receiver,
than the Super Bowl? I get where you're coming from, Rabbi. It is a
especially
little
giving up a wide
surprising.
receiver.
But don't say nobody cares about the Dolphins lest you incur the wrath of my best friend.
I understand that, but even Nisa knows that this is going to be a rough year in Miami currently right now,
Yes.
and I think he would be the first to admit it.
Yeah, I will tell you. I don't remember. I honestly don't remember the last time I saw this many divisional rivals trading swapping picks in the draft to move up or down for
Well,
whatever.
like I said, it happened with Micah Parsons beforehand. I don't know. That just bothered me more than anything. That happened with the Micah Parsons deal back in. The Eagles, the Cowboys, and Eagles moved up 2 spots. Cowboys moved down 2 spots. Devontae Smith went to the
Uh,
Eagles. Micah Parsons went to the Cowboys. That is the main thing to remember. It.
and Rabbi, speaking of trades with division rivals,
Jets are back in.
who did the
Okay.
Jets trade with to come back into the first round?
Did they trade with Buffalo?
Buffalo's at 31. The Seahawks are at 32. Oh, they traded with the 49ers.
They traded
Oh,
with
wow.
the 49ers who traded with
Uh,
Miami.
Oh, here you go. The Jets gave up their first pick 33, which is the first pick in the second round. They traded that to the 49ers for the
So
49ers first round pick at
So
30.
I'm
So,
curious, by the way, and I want to stay here for the end of this. Is this
yeah, we
Omar
have
Cooper
to.
Jr.?
Yeah.
Is this Omar Cooper Jr.? That would be an
Oh
interesting way
man,
for
I tell you, if
this could be
is the
Omar Cooper
pick,
Jr. And I
it-
think that would be really good. It's interesting how don't say anything else
ah,
about or
called it.
it Omar Cooper
Not where
Jr.?
it went, but
Where is it?
Oh
Is it
yeah.
it's Omar
Yes, it
Cooper.
is. Omar
Yeah,
Cooper.
that's exactly what I thought it would be. Okay, great pick. We've kind of talked about it before. That's a very good use
Yes.
of getting back into the draft and getting him at number 30. And ironically enough, that was Miami's pick originally. San Francisco traded it back, but San Francisco originally got it from Miami. So we end the night with the third trade pick. It's funny how the New York teams ended up with 1/6 of the first round picks in here, 5 first round picks, and Omar Cooper Jr. is now the wide receiver 2 for the New York Jets, most likely. I love his pick.
And
Yeah.
honestly,
Oh, yeah.
Rabbi, this kind of, I mean, look, does it, completely mitigate or, my head scratching at the pick of Kenyon Sadiq? No, but, props to the Jets, draft team for, getting themselves into the back of the first round to grab the guy who, I felt would have been a solid pick at 16, though. I mean, theoretically, could they have gotten him at 33 with the first pick tomorrow? Maybe.
Probably
But
not. I would imagine Buffalo was going to look for him in that 31
that's
spot.
entirely possible. We know Buffalo is in need of wide receiver help. So if that was the case and they heard the rumblings, then it's a really good move. I think he's a good fit. Yeah, I agree with you, Rabbi. He automatically slots in as wide receiver 2 opposite Garrett Wilson. We don't know who the Jets quarterback is going to be next year, but man, he's going to have some toys to play with, whoever he is.
I would,
Yep, we'll
yeah, I say we can honestly say now the Jets has had a good night. As
Oh,
far
I think
as
both New York teams have had excellent nights,
both
by
New
the
York,
way.
both New York teams had a
Yeah.
really good round one. I could definitely say that.
I still don't like. I know what you were saying before with bringing in. I still the Sadiq pick is going to be interesting to see how that team brings him
Yeah.
in. But yeah, all right. With that being said, we are all done after this long, strange journey. We shall bid adieu to you for this evening. For Jay Kaplan, Anthony Strait, and Joe Tufaro, my official review podcast partner, my name is Steven Rabinowitz, and in the words of my least favorite NBA player of all time now, CJ McCollum, I'm trying, Jennifer. I'm trying. Anyway, enough about me. Social media, facebook.com/on the sports slides, youtube.com/on the sports slides, and Jay.
Our Twitter handle is at ONTH Sports Lines, where you'll find a link to each new show, like tonight's, along with tidbits and nuggets from the world of sports that we think are worth your time to check out. One of the best online platforms I've come across for breaking down college quarterbacks, game tape in advance of the NFL draft is Kurt Warner's Quarterback Confidential. No one I've come across does a better job at dissecting the throws and skill sets that will or will not likely translate at the NFL level than the Hall of Fame quarterback and NFL Network analyst. I've posted a link to his YouTube account on our Twitter page. I highly encourage you to check it out. You do not have to be a draft nerd or a film nerd in order to get plenty of good stuff out of it, even if you are just a casual NFL fan who kind of wants to understand a little bit more of how and why things go the way they go and what makes or doesn't make a good quarterback in the NFL coming out of college.
All right, before 9,000 more people traded the NFL draft, and there's still 2 picks left to go. There was another trade as we talked. I would like to say good night from On the Sports Lines. I will talk to you next week.
Good night,
Good night,
everyone.
everybody.
We all will, but we'll see you next week.